Won't do that. That's a bad move right there.
Hello.
That's a bad move. I really don't care one way or another anymore. I'm short.
This special meeting of the Judson Board of Trustees is hereby called to order at 9:05 a.m. I'm very pleased that you have taken time to join us this morning. In compliance with the State Government Code on Open Meetings, today's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in the public, not a meeting of the public. And as our guests, you are welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent meeting record. In order that the tape adequately reflects these proceedings, please silence your mobile devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Once again, I extend to each of you a sincere welcome from the entire school board. Thank you for your interest in Judson ISD. And I'll just call roll. Mr. LaFoyle.
Here.
Ms. Perez. Present. Ms. Suzanne Canoyer. Here. Mr. Macias.
Present.
Ms. Eaton. Present. And I'm Renee Pichelle. Dr. Ball. Present. And so is her staff, and we shall begin. Item 2, discussion items and reports of the fiscal year 2020 budget preparation. Dr. Ball.
Yes. So as everybody knows, late last week, a final decision was made from the session. Just as recent as yesterday afternoon, Bill and I attended a session at Region 20 because there are still so many unanswered questions and so many different interpretations of the law. So we got together with the Bear County superintendents and doing the best that we can to interpret what they really mean and seek opinions and advice as to what they really mean. So Bill has been working on putting together this presentation with the most recent information. So I'm just going to hand it over to Bill.
Thank you. So the presentation's there before you, and you also have a copy of all the budgets that were sent out to campuses and departments. It's this one here. It shows what the budgets were and the variances between last year and this year. We'll start with the current year budget, where we're at. We had a budget revenue of $187 million, budget expenditures of $200 million. We are sitting at about 84% of revenue, $157.26 million in at this time, and about 76% on expenditures, $152.7 million expended at this time. So that's kind of where we're at. One of the things we talked about last time was, you go to the next page, and it's called current year funding elements. We talked about the overpayment that we're having this year. And so this, top of this page is a part of the summary of finances that shows, when you see the LPE column, that's the legislative planning estimate. And the DPE stands for district planning estimate. This number 22,094 was submitted to the state in November of 2016. And so we have to give them what we think we're going to have in ADA right before the legislative session starts. So it's that magic crystal ball. And I believe in 2016 was the last year we had an increase in ADA. And so the projections were that we were going to continue to increase, but we did not. We started decreasing. And we decreased for the last 3 years. page is budget steps, and we've really kind of got to the end of this page. Today, we're having, in June, we're having our budget workshop. We have another one scheduled for June 12th. After that, we need to finalize the budget, and then we have at the regular meeting on June 27th, we'll hold a public hearing and adopt the budget. So, next page is House Bill 3, and this is kind of what passed in the legislature. It has not been signed by the governor. The governor has line item veto, so he could go in and strike any of these provisions out. So they increased the basic allotment from 5140 to 6160. They created a dyslexic allotment with a weight of 0.1. They increased the comp ed weight from 0.2 to a range of 0.225 to 0.275, depending on the census tract that the student lies in. The problem is that the commissioner has to decide where the cut points are in those census tracts, and we don't know when we will get that. So we don't have really a good way to estimate that.
Excuse me, Mr. Atkins, Ms. Eaton has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just want, so that I can be following you correctly. When you say the 0.1 weight, is that that's the percentage of our budget that we are allotted to that towards that
No, ma'am.
program?
So if we get $100 for a student, say, then for a dyslexic student, we would get $110.
Oh,
So it's a weight of 10%.
okay,
Is what it is. Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
The mainstream special ed weight went from 1.1 to 1.15. There was an increase in the bilingual weight for dual language programs from 0.1 to 0.15 for ELL kids. And for non-ELL kids in the dual language program, two-way, it was a 0.5 weight, which is a new weight. They expanded the CT allotment to be eligible in classes in the 7th and 8th grade. They created an early reading allotment of 0.1 for students K through 3 that are educationally disadvantaged or limited English proficient. And this has to be used pre-K to 3 in reading and math, but what the state said is, this is how we're funding all-day pre-K.
So, all-day pre-K is being funded
By this allotment.
with this allotment, but it's only through 3rd grade.
You get the funding off the students K through 3, but the state's saying, this is
You have
how
to
we're
use it
funding
for
pre-K.
pre-K.
Because they did not fund.
So
full-day
then,
pre-K.
it really is not an increase.
It's a new allotment, yes, ma'am. It's new money. And so what we're going to do is, it's not enough to cover everything. So we're going to move the teacher pay onto this and keep the aid pay in Title I. And so that will free up some funds for our campuses to be able to look at RPI and some of those things. We just haven't got that out to the campuses yet.
You don't know what money.
Well, it's just started to happen. So, they amended
track as they get on and off the bus?
SEISD.
Is that the name of it?
It's San Antonio School District,
Right,
That's that. Mhm.
okay. I mean, they tested it,
Right.
but
but they will be using it next year.
right, but they were saying everybody's gonna start using it. Have we discussed it?
That is one of the items, it's a budget request that has been put in, and we'll get to that, yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're coming to it, okay, thank you.
They set the yield on the tier two pennies, to 0.16 of the basic allotment. And in 2021, boards, or districts would be able to add, 1 penny above the floor, without an election if it was a unanimous vote of the board. These are the golden pennies, and we'll talk a little bit about more of those later on. But this 98.56 used to be called the Austin yield, and it was actually tied to the Austin yield, and it was 106 this year. So it actually went down. The good thing being tied to the Austin yield, it increased every year. Now, unless the basic allotment increases, this will not increase. So that's one of the ways that they took of getting revenue each year. Then on the tier two, these would be the pennies above the golden pennies. Those are 0.008 of the 98.56, and it comes out to 49.28. They're compressing our tax rate to 93%. So our current compressed tax rate is $1. So next year, our tax rate will be 93 cents, and then we can add 4 cents on top of that to 97 cents. And use that. They repealed the high school allotment, the GT allotment, the CEI, which is the cost of education index, the staff salary allotment, and the additional state aid for homestead limitation allotment. So all of those went away, and those were rolled into the basic allotment. So that increase in the basic allotment, some of that is being supplemented by just moving.
Moving the others around.
For the compensation requirement, they require districts to use 30% of the increase from what we earn this year compared to what we're going to earn next year. And so a lot of the runs that people see out there were what you would have earned under the new law in 1920, in 1819, compared to what you were going to earn new law 1920. But that's not what we're comparing for the rates. It's what we're gonna earn this year compared to what we're gonna earn next year. So whatever the difference of that is, and I have a little diagram to go over that, 30% of that has to be used to give teachers with 5 years or more a raise. That's the only requirement. Now, they gave us some flexibility saying of that 30%, 75% of it has to be used for teachers with teachers, counselors, librarians, and nurses with 5 years or more experience. And you're supposed to be, 75% of it has to be used for a raise for teachers, counselors, librarians, and nurses. You have to give preference to teachers with 5 years or more.
75
Of
out of the 30.
Yes, ma'am. Then the remaining 25% of the 30% can be used to give all other staff, non-administrative staff, a raise. Doesn't have to be. Like I said, the only requirement in the law is to give teachers
Librarians,
Counselors.
counselors, and
a
nurses.
raise. So we do have some flexibility with that 25%.
Well, in regards to that 75%.
Yes, sir. funding mechanism. There was some talk towards the end of the legislative session about doing a sales tax increase, and that did not pass. So some of this is being funded out of the rainy day fund. So there's a real concern whether all of these will be able to be sustainable. And that's,
My biggest concern.
yes, sir.
Were you going to touch on the benefits that were committed to also allocate money?
Yes, sir. This amount can be used for benefit increases too. So, if you want to increase the employer portion towards health insurance, you could do that as well. And so, it can be used for that.
And that can come out of either the 75% or the 25%? Is there any limitation?
No.
So in terms of the benefits, I was thinking about that when I was looking at the meeting. Only, last time we did the assessment, only 60% of our employees were utilizing the benefits on healthcare with this year, which would mean we did go to benefits route, we have 40% of our employees that did not potentially benefit. So are we able to do something to ensure that every employee that we want to have some benefits is impacted? Is there a mixture? Can you do a little bit?
Yes, sir.
of
Yes, sir.
benefit there?
We can do a mixture both ways, yes, sir. You could do some compensation increases, and you could increase benefits as well.
Before it's all said and done, I definitely would like to look at my idea is if we can really make a significant impact on the benefit side, if employees are more home, and I think that would be just as impactful as giving a raise. So we just need to see what that math is.
Okay. And I don't have that number in my presentation, but I do have it because I've looked into it, so I can, when we get to that portion, I'll give it to you, so you have that number to decide.
Well, no, also the strategy of what are we going to do then for those that are not receiving benefits? What can be the potential allocation? I'll tell you the other reason why I'm interested strongly in the benefits part is because the aspect of the legislature continuing to fund, we can always reduce benefits where it takes. And salaries and compensation is much harder to roll back than benefits. So as a result, that has a little more flexibility for us to work through and still really have some impact. So I'd like to have a little hard look.
Very good point. Very good point.
Ms. Dillon,
I was just gonna say that puts everybody in the state in the same boat, should the funding not come through. So, I don't want us to not look at raises and only do benefits. I think absolutely benefits is an issue to look at. So, when we get to that point, but we're gonna go through the rest of this?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you go back, please, because
Yes, ma'am.
I missed it, if you talked about NEFA funding,
Oh, I'm sorry. They did increase
is the bottom of the first column?
they did increase the new instructional facility allotment
Okay, I didn't know what that
for,
was.
from 25 to 100 million, and that's funding that's provided to furnish new schools. And we received some of that this year on
More than this.
Escondido and Wordman, and we'll have a little bit next year because we'll settle up. Because, you estimate how many kiddos are gonna go in there, and then next year, we turn in what actually is, and it's a little more than we get a little bit.
there are so many acronyms that I am
Yeah.
not
And
familiar
I
with.
apologize, please ask me.
And I'm an educator, so.
And there's a zillion in education.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Remember the last one, we talked about the bump, we used to get a little extra revenue because our values were going up, because the state paid us on the prior year. Well, they took that away. And they're now the formula is based on current year values. And that's gonna make it much more difficult to project revenue for both the state, TEA, and districts. Because the state values are not certified. Our values will be certified by the comptroller until January of 2020. And that's why they used to use previous years, because we would have them certified in January, and then we could use them, we knew exactly what they were. Now we're just gonna have to guess still an option. They did kind of take away the swap. They put a piece of language in there that said that you can not, and Dr. Walsh will talk a little bit about this later, you cannot increase M&O taxes to create a surplus to pay debt. And so that's a new little piece of law. So the conservative route is, again, there's been no guidance from PEA on any of this. The conservative route is just think that the swap is not an option, but a regular TRE is. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the last thing they did to limit our ability to generate revenue is we do an effective tax rate calculation every year. And what that is the revenue we earn under our 18, 19 values. What would be the tax rate in using the 19, 20 values to generate the exact same revenue? So if your values are going up, typically your effective tax rate is going to be lower to generate the same revenue. Previously, we were able to take this and multiply it by 1.08%, and you were allowed to generate 8% more revenue than you had the previous year. Now they've limited that to 2.5%. And so really, that is the only, so they've really taken a lot of any additional funding away from districts unless you're growing kids or the state increases the basic allotment. That's really the two ways to increase revenue, or do a TRE.
With no swap.
With no
TRE with no swap.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so next page. The other thing that I want to make sure of is, if you look at some of those runs, districts are receiving, every district in the state's funded differently, and the amount of money every district gets this time is different. And so when we look at the change in revenue of the districts in Bear County around that for ADA, you can see Comal is getting $302 per ADA. Southwest is getting $1,067 per ADA. So when they do that 30% calculation for the compensation, these districts down here are going to be able to give bigger raises. These districts down here are going to have to give smaller raises or use other additional funds. And so Judson actually falls in the middle. We tend to do that with our tax rates. We tend to fall in the middle.
Do we have a strategy to move ourselves in the best position, or we
The TRE, these districts down here, all these districts, South San, Hardendale, and Southwest, and San Antonio, all of those are at $1.17. They TREs already, and that's why their funding is so much more.
we're considering that?
Yes, sir, we're going to talk about that today, about an option to do that. So this is, now we're going to kind of get into the proposed budgets. This is our 19-20 proposed debt service budget. I have the 18-19 budget, the year-to-date, and then our estimated budget. This one's very simple. It's a couple lines. 38.6 million in revenue, 38.4 million in expenditures for next year. We'll have a little bit of money to put in the fund balance for debt service. The next one page is child nutrition, and again, remember, this is kind of a self-supporting budget. They have to operate within their revenues.
And they know
million in revenue and about $14.5 million in expenditures. And that, again, increases their fund balance, about $100,000.
Do you know what the approximate fund balance is for that?
Yes, ma'am. He has about 2.4 million fund balance. And they're only allowed to keep 3 months operating expenditures. So they monitor that, and, in this budget, he's buying, a couple warmers, and they're gonna replace some of their old equipment. He has some of that.
And we cannot use that money for anything other than child nutrition.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is there ever?
Employees,
What?
can we pay employees out of it?
They
They
pay
do.
all of their child, everything in child
Everything,
nutrition.
their
is paid.
salaries, everything.
Yes, ma'am. Their salaries, benefits, everything.
Okay, you guys are gonna look at me cross-eyed, but does the district, does the district ever have, or do they borrow from child nutrition?
No.
No, because you cannot, it stays in child nutrition.
Days and child nutrition. The only thing we do is we can charge them for, the maintenance works over there on their equipment.
Oh,
We can
okay.
charge them for that.
Uh-huh.
We charge them for, some utilities.
Okay.
Portion of their utilities, we get reimbursed for that.
Mhm.
But that's really it.
Okay.
The general fund budget, again, has the current budget year to date. And so we're estimating about $105.7 million in local revenue, about $72.7 million in state revenue. Now, remember, that would be $6 million higher if we weren't overpaid this year. So that's why that's down. And about 4.1 million in federal revenue, so about 182 million. Now, this estimated 167 million in salaries is with the 30% requirement. So that's with the 30% requirement. So if we did anything above that, that would increase that number. Contracted services, we're dropping a little bit this year. We did, again, this is where this came in. We did reduce budgets across the district and some other cost-saving measures. Supplies down to about $7 million. Miscellaneous and travel, $2 million. Our debt payment of $352,000. And then capital expenditures is about $1 million. So about $192 million, and it leaves us about a $9.7 million deficit. And we currently have about a $55 million fund balance.
So, the last time we had about, with the House that passed a certain bill, we talked about $3 million shortfall, or roughly around that. So this is the most current information, that $3 million, I guess the House didn't pass that version of the bill?
Right, the House bill, when it went to the Senate, it got changed. And they took, in that version, they were gonna take $6 billion and give it to the districts. And 2-point-something billion for tax rate reduction. Under the current bill, we're getting $5 billion for districts and $4.5 billion went for tax rate reduction. So, they dropped what was going to districts.
So we have almost a $10 million shortfall, that's what it looks like. I guess we'll continue to evaluate where we have potential to be more efficient, but still a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
We are fund balance could sustain that forever. If we did the TRE, we do see an influx of funding, but it still can't sustain a $2 million deficit on a year. Is part of this $10 million hole tied to our enrollment?
Yes, sir.
So the question I need to ask is, at what point do we need to consider closing some of our facilities? If we don't have students in the classroom, that has to be a pathway that we start to consider, and we alert parents that this potential may exist. So what schools then would be potentially
Just steal my thunder.
You have all the answers? You have all
No,
the
I wish I
answers?
had all the
So-
answers,
so
but
you're
I,
good.
yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that towards the end. I just,
Kind of piggybacking on what Mr. Macias said, do we see that our expanded pre-K is going to bring in more students than we would have expected? Do we have preliminary numbers on that?
I can get those for you.
she'll pull those up and then we can talk about
Okay.
that.
But I think we have seen an increase
We have.
in the
So that's
roundup
more,
numbers.
So that'll be a little
more
more.
kids in seats that will help a little.
Yes, ma'am.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Cynthia, I'm gonna get like exact
No.
numbers, but from what I understand, we've already met what the numbers that we usually start the year with.
Right after our 3-year registration the 3-day registration kickoff in April, we met those numbers already. So,
So whatever happens over the summer is.
Absolutely.
Is it above and beyond?
yes,
And
and
you know a lot of people wait.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yes.
They do,
Pre-
and even after Labor Day.
yes, conversations I've had with principals, they're expecting more.
Okay.
That's good. to
That's
know.
good, that will help.
Yes, ma'am.
And is that included in your guesstimates here about,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so you've taken into account the numbers that have registered?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you projected that we may have more, or
If you go back, the numbers,
the AD?
you're at 21,153.
Mhm.
What I turned in for this year is 21,300.
Okay,
And that's conservative.
Right.
Because the way I've always thought about it is, we have to be conservative because it's better to come back and say, hey,
We
there's
got
a little
more.
extra, than to do what has happened this year, where because
Never to pay back
those
much.
numbers
Mhm.
weren't, then you have $6 million. If we didn't have to repay those $6 million, we'd be sitting a little prettier.
Mhm.
It'd still be a deficit, but it would be.
Be so as much,
yes, I would rather be pleasantly surprised
Yes.
than desperately disappointed.
I turned in 21,319.20 and 21,350 for
Okay.
2021, just trying to be conservative.
And that can, during the year, if our numbers are different, we will see an increase in funds, or is it built strictly on that? I wanna make sure that I'm clear,
No, that's what they'll pay us,
right?
and then they do that allocation
right.
report, and if you're overpaid, they take that out of next year's.
Okay.
If you're underpaid, they pay you in September.
Okay,
Oh.
You get paid in September.
okay,
So hopefully it'll be like Christmas
a little
in
bonus.
September.
There we go, okay.
So,
I didn't know if we had to wait a whole year or what. Okay.
So, a couple of months ago, we were just kind of talking about, advertising ourselves, you know. In fact, one of the things that we mentioned to you was that, because that presentation that you had given us, we're gonna have to, like, start really selling ourselves. And with all these, you know, and I'm not knocking the idea schools and everything, but I feel like we have more to offer. We have a larger variety, you know, to offer students, but we have to sell it. We have to sell it. There are parents that I've talked to recently that didn't even understand what JECA was about, you know. And so when I was expressing my excitement, you know, that we have high school students getting a college degree before they even get their high school diploma, you know, it caught their ear. And I'm like, but why don't y'all know it? Y'all been living in the Jefferson School District all along, you know. So we have to kind of figure out a way where we can really start selling. The idea schools do it. I go to
Yeah.
my mailbox.
Yeah.
There's always a
Yeah.
card
Yeah.
in there for them, so, you know. we
It's
have to sell
marketing,
it.
we can market, yeah.
And we've been having those conversations, you know, video type promotions, you know, billboards, even using our own buses to advertise ourselves,
Why not?
you know, so.
Why not? There's a couple school districts I see there.
I receive a booklet every other month from Northeast, why, I don't know. And they got all their praise how good they're doing and everything like that. We could do something like that and probably, we used to do it, didn't we, Renee? Send a type of a flyer thing out to the people?
I don't remember that.
Well, you
You
figure,
mean
I
like
go
a-
back 15 years too.
You're talking about like
A booklet, I got it in the car, I'll bring it in, I meant to bring it in, but during the next break, I'll go out and get it and bring it in.
Okay. I mean, even if we buy I mean, you know, seriously.
I advertise on the back of my truck
Hey,
for people.
why not? Well, hey, we can get bumper stickers. It's a little cheesy, but why not? Follow me to church.
Oh, I like it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fun.
That's what this is for, though, yes.
Yes, we wanna get some seats.
We're getting a lot of kids over at the football camp that don't go to school here. Their parents come up and say, should have a banner over there.
Hey,
There's a lot of ways to do it, but you know, a lot of them cost money.
this is true.
Well, let me add on to that. I think that naturally marketing is one aspect of it, but honestly, when you survey parents, I know we'll see a survey from those parents in our June board meeting. We need to identify what our community wants. And so if we're not providing that service, they're going to have other choices. So ultimately, in combination with a good marketing plan, is actually offering a good program, things that they want, like the STEM program, the PASS program, early college, dual credit, but also doing it earlier. The pre-K is a good initiative for early intervention, but then what are we doing in the middle? Which we'll talk a little bit later about the social emotional support for our students. We need to give parents that understanding that we can give their students the best support and that we are the best choice. So unless we do that, and we have veteran teachers in classrooms, we have good processes in place. Community to school is a good part of it that we've developed this year. That's going to turn the corner because parents, we see the surveys, are surveys at other schools. Parents don't care about my kids. They're being bullied. There is no gifted and talented program, the elementary program that really helps push these kids up. There are things like that that we need to be able to provide. I think we understand that, but as Richard said, all of this costs money. So where can we be intelligent about allocating those dollars? That's gonna make a difference, just a combination of marketing, but we have to look at that.
So the next page, we'll kind of go over how the compensation calculation works. So this is our required compensation that we have to do each year. So in 18-19, there on the left side, this is what we're earning, local taxes, 98.9 million. This is what our funding, what we'll earn is 74.7 million. And so that's our sum of our local in state, 173.7 million. In 1920, we're estimating 99.2 million in taxes, 85 in the funding, and 187. So we take that 173 in 1819, and we divide it by our ADA, 21,153, and that gets us to 8213 per ADA. In 1920, we take the 187,200, we divide it by 21,300, that's the number we turn in. That gets us 8789. The difference of those two is 575. We take the 575 and we multiply that times the 21,300 up there, and that gives us 12.2 million. We have to take 30% of 12.2 million.
Okay. And what is FSP funding?
Foundation School Program. So as we go to the next one, I have that 12,252,700, just kind of rounded. And so 30% of that is the 3.6 million. And then the 75% of the 30, which has to be on teachers, counselors, librarians, is the 2.7 million. And the remaining 918,000 can be used on other non-administrative employees.
That's not a lot.
No.
So that's the calculation, and that's kind of how, we talked about that in Region 20 with the other districts yesterday, and everybody kind of agreed, because there's really no guidance. And so this is what ASBO has kind of put out, saying this is how they, from talking to teachers, if there's anything right, that this is how it should be calculated. So on the next page, Mr. Garcia and I have been trying to work. So increase our starting pay by 400. And the reason we're doing the 400 is right now we pay 0 and 1, correct me if I'm wrong, the exact same amount.
Yeah.
And this would put a little bit of separation. Other staff would get a 2% increase, and bus drivers would get $1 an hour raise. Bus drivers are really hard to get. Now, going back to Mr. Macias's concern about can we sustain this, should we put some in benefits, which we definitely can. One of the other options is reducing the raise a little bit and doing a retention incentive. And you can choose not to do that incentive in the future if that funding is not there. So that's kind of option B is a $1,200 raise and a $500 retention incentive. For our 1 to 4, $700 raise and the $500 retention incentive. Again, increase that starting pay 400. All other staff would be a 1% plus a $300 retention incentive, and bus drivers would get a 75-cent an hour raise and a $300 retention incentive. And so that's just two options. We can mix and match this thing as long as we spend the 30%.
So this is the part that I'd like for us to have some discussion and some input
Okay.
from the board in regards to different options that you would like us to.
And on the next page, I tried to put some numbers here so we could have those discussions. So for every $100 we increase that 5 and over group, it's $45,500.
For the year?
How much
Yes,
it costs us.
that's
That's how much it would cost to give everybody that.
Right, for each
For
year.
$100.
Actually.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I'm asking.
Is that for one
Yes,
year?
Yes,
or-
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. 1 year.
1 year.
Actually, I transposed it, I do apologize, because we have more teachers in the over 5. It's $128,000 to give $100 more to teachers with more than 5 years, and $45,500 to teachers 1 to 4.
Oh, the numbers are flipped, okay.
Yes, ma'am, I apologize.
No, no worries.
Other staff, again, if you gave a 2% on top of the 1, it's an additional $425,000. 3% would be an additional $845,000, and a 4% would be $1.2 million. Admin staff, there's no requirement to give them a raise, but wanting to give other staff, and I think there's 170 employees in that group. Those would be the numbers for that. And Mr. Macias, increasing the health insurance contribution on the employer side, $10 costs $317,000. If we wanted to do some of that, that would be the number that we would be budgeting.
So every $10 that we're able to allocate to every employee,
That's just the employees who are taking health.
That are taking it, yeah.
And there, I think there's 2,096 employees at large that take health insurance. 2,096, I believe is the correct number. That's about 60% of the whole sector.
controls for our employees. And the net gain was almost zero. I mean, it was really just a wash. And we put in $500,000 or even 800,000, I can't remember, this was some years ago. So I'm cognizant of the fact that this may not work, this idea to put money towards benefits, but I'd like to at least know before we say no, or go on this. But anyway, that'll be helpful in the discussion. But Dr. Ball, this is where you say we start off in terms of having our discussion?
Yes, because we could look at the different options. So these were the two options that after going to the Region 20 meeting yesterday, that Bill and I discussed. Specifically B is what we came up with that was different because of the sustainability, that B could be easier to sustain that. But we could definitely think of, different options. And then I know that in a little while we'll get into the TRE conversation, but the TRE probably would not be happening until November. So of course, we know we have to pass our budget before that. If the TRE did pass, then we could always go back and even increase the retention incentive to be more if we wanted to, the board wanted to do that. So that, I would hope that we would use some of the money, if we go for the TRE, to give back to our employees, in some shape, whether it's a retention incentive or something. So I would like to hear from the board, other options. We'll definitely bring insurance options, but is there different options? Let me clarify, what I mean is, an option could be, okay, only $1,000 for the 1 through 4 year teachers, and then put those $200 with five years or more, so we could come do an option like that. Yes, ma'am.
About how many employees do we have in each group when we're looking at teachers, librarians, counselors, nurses? Approximately how many are in the 1 to 4 year versus the 5 and above?
We have 1,750 total, and we have, let's call it, I'll round up as 1,295, 1,300 5 years or above,
Okay.
which gives us about 454 and below. That's teachers, nurses, librarians, and counselors.
Now, one of the things that discussing Mr. Garcia, and one of the reasons why we tried to put a little bit of a bigger break is, I know there's been a concern, I guess, Shota Civilo people tend to want to go there, and I think Mr. Garcia said a few years ago what they did is they put a big jump between their teachers that went 5 years and 6 years, and they strategically did that. Well, to attract others and to keep their teachers. So that's what we were trying to do, is bridge that gap, to
And
try
that-
and keep our teachers engaged.
And I think Mr. Macias had kind of mentioned that one time, kind of strategically paying our veterans teachers a little more, and obviously that's what the state had in mind. But there's definitely a discrepancy from 6 years and up between us and certain neighboring districts.
And like Bill said, on the 1 through 4 year teachers, all the state is asking us to do is to prioritize for 5 years or more. So we could prioritize in any way that the board sees fit.
I have a question, and I'm gonna address this question to Ms. Canoia and Mr. Shaw. Since you all were teachers, and I'm sure, I know there are other teachers in here, but my question is this: if you were still teaching right now, which one of these would be more appealing to you? To manage your own money, or for us to do option B? Option B, and make that decision for you?
If I were still working right now, I would choose option B.
Ms. Canoia?
It's kind of a wash. Do you want that little bonus kicking in at some point in the year, or would you rather have more every month? And I personally would have rather had the more every month, because I know we can count on that. What I'm thinking about is, the $500 because of the amount of training, the amount of, work that we've put into,
The experience.
to working in our district. And I'm primarily thinking of elementary, because secondary with our new innovative scale, I think anybody who was gonna leave because of that and not necessarily because of money. But our elementary teachers that we've already, increased the class size, and we're not talking about taking that away. We're going to increase the burden that they have to carry because we're taking away the GT help, because we're taking away some of the RTI help. So we've really increased their burden. Now suddenly, just because you have 2 more years experience than I do, you get $500 a month, a year more. So that's where I'm having a little bit of heartburn at that. So I just wanna lay that out there. I don't have an answer. I just want everybody to appreciate my pain.
Well, I just wanted to get an idea, because for me personally, I would rather manage my own money. I don't need all that. Just give me my money every month.
I understand the appeal of
Yeah.
option B because it is a little bit more sustainable because, we can give the $500 retention incentive this year and if we don't see the growth, the TRE doesn't pass or whatever, then maybe
Yeah.
next year we don't have to give it. So there's more flexibility for us to do that. So as a board member,
Right.
that's more appealing to us, so.
Thank you.
I'd like to add that, option B, obviously, as Mr. Benoit pointed out, the flexibility. I keep just wrestling with the idea of what you will present in terms of the benefits and what we will do to offset those that are not receiving benefits, to give them sort of the same type of bump. So it'll be interesting. I'm thinking it's a long shot, but when you provide the data, then we can kind of know for sure. One thing that Dr. Ball had mentioned before in a conversation a month ago was funding our title campuses, those on the southern part of our district, teachers' higher salary, because we're talking retention. So when we look at retention at campuses and we're talking increase in salary, we need to find out where we're losing, where the turnover is higher across the district, which means there's obviously more challenges. My dream has always been to be able to fund teachers in districts, our campuses that are economically disadvantaged, more, because we know there's more work that goes in there. So that option would be something I'd like to see potentially included, just to see if we have the ability to do that. And again, we had that conversation, Dr. Ball, about that in the past. So it may be time to get to that point, but I wouldn't know until we saw the numbers.
Right, and the great thing about that is that the legislative session did provide a way to incentivize teachers. The commissioner was at Region 20 2 weeks ago, and he said that was like the day after it all passed. He said that he needed some time and would be sharing that information with us. And I can tell you that Judson ISD does plan to apply as soon as that comes out. So they would actually be giving us money to incentivize the teachers. And those were some great opportunities. We're talking, they will be giving us some big dollars for that.
So it's a competitive process, an application process. So we can prepare for it and be ready to do it if we want to, because strategically our district, I believe, needs to do that. Again, I didn't think to request, but to see the turnover rate per campus would be helpful for us to see if we're thinking the problems on the southern part of the district. What is it up north, and we don't know.
But wouldn't Mr. Garcia be able to give us somewhat of an idea?
I don't know. I didn't ask for a
Sir.
report earlier.
I mean, just off the top of your head, we no exact numbers, but I'm sure
A ballpark.
one school or another stands out, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. I can tell you the 3-year trend approximately tends to be schools that have higher economically disadvantaged tend to have the highest.
Most challenging.
Same for the transfer requests.
Okay.
They tend to be at campuses that have higher economically disadvantaged numbers. So there's a direct correlation, in my opinion, between ECODIS and teacher turnover.
Okay.
A few anomalies aside, anytime you have a new principal at a campus, different sort of leadership style, but we haven't had that, so our numbers are a little more concrete now, and we're seeing that the highest prevalence of transfer requests and turnover, is pretty much in accordance with economically disadvantaged numbers.
And that's our south end of our district.
Typically, it's the
Right.
south end, yes,
Right.
ma'am, it's
Right.
the south end schools, I don't wanna name campuses.
But no, I'm not asking for.
But that's exactly what it is. Typically,
Okay.
the south end schools have higher turnovers and teachers with less experience.
Which also then, my next follow-up to that is that we know compensation does play a role in retention. We also know the support that a teacher feels in the classroom plays a big role in
Definitely.
staying. So which means professional development needs to be better, or I would say better, but probably more sustained, or I don't know. There has to be a plan, because our teachers at campuses that are serving children in need, I think need a little more support, but they also need a little more professional development. And so our budgets, I hope we've incorporated those strategies, and if not, we can talk about that. The Holdsworth deal seems like it would be very helpful for building. But ultimately, we have an opportunity, we know the issue, what are we doing that's more in terms of giving these new teachers better professional development on those campuses, and then teachers in general, what resources do they need? And again, I'll just have a second. After-school programming, summer programming are critical in those areas to move things for those students. So we can't back down from those. All of that comes together. And so later in this budget, I'm gonna talk a little more about those desires. But certainly thinking about that will all impact teacher turnover and retention.
Right, and I don't wanna get off subject because I easily can, but just real quick, I know that we are gonna start to have some very serious conversations as to, for the next summer, we will get increased funding for summer programs. And please correct me if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood. But next year, we need to have thousands and thousands of kids in summer programs because we will get increased funding. So we are already looking at that and thinking about that because this is the first time that the state is going to give us increased funding for that.
And is
But
that,
it's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's part of that, extra 30 days that the legislature passed, that they would provide funding for that? Okay, that was gonna be my question is, and, that would be something that we could target some of our low SES
Oh,
schools with?
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So the question I have,
right.
Ms. Eaton and then Ms. Perez.
Okay, well, wait, he just answered my question. Grades K through 5?
Yes, ma'am, it provides, they would give us ABA, half-day ABA for extending school year 30 days beyond 180 days.
Okay.
So we only go 175 under the
Mhm.
current calendar. So the first 5 days we would get no funding for, but then the next 25 days we would get funding.
So then we can use that time to really hit hard, like with math and reading, and
Right.
I understand we're supposed to be bringing writing back, thank God. But, yeah, I mean, to be able to hit those, you know, and target them,
Yes, ma'am.
that would be great. Dr. Cantu.
Go ahead, Ms. Perez.
if piggybacking on what Mr. Massis just said, as it relates to the, schools that have higher turnover, could a option D be to create a higher pay for specifically those, at-risk areas? And then have that be, a tier for the, 5 and greater, 1 through 4, and then for the other, not as, as risk schools have, if that makes sense.
Sure, so just break
Yes.
those down
Into two.
at risk and
Right,
versus not.
yes, yeah, I'd like to see that.
And like I said, with the grant, like we've all been talking about, those funds could specifically be used for that.
Mr. LaFois?
I want to thank all you for looking at my end of the district. It's been that way since I've been on it for 15 years. The teachers are challenged on that end of the district. They have kids that get up and walk up in the middle of a classroom. Out the door they go, disrupts the whole classroom. We need help on that end of the district. I appreciate you looking at it.
I think, Ms. Eaton had a question.
I get, it's got answered.
Okay, so let me get clarification so we can prepare the right thing.
Okay.
So, would you like for us to look at understood it and I did it.
Well, let's look at the turnover rates of teachers.
Okay.
That'll give you a good estimate of what's happening in the classrooms. And then we look at the disadvantage, how many disadvantaged children we have in those schools.
Okay.
There's gotta be something, I know it's not just my end of the district.
Right, right. But I think in preparing, the option C, you would like for us to allocate more funds to the campuses on the south end, or?
If we're trying to create a retention incentive, and if there are areas that already have retention problems, that I would like to see more, a different tier for those to create an incentive for those troubled areas to, you know, to attract someone to stay or
Well, you-
go in the first place.
So we
Yeah.
can look
Right.
at the economically disadvantaged numbers.
Yes.
The percentage. of
Right.
schools, and find a break. and
Another thing happens on that end of the
incentive
district.
larger
Oh,
for
I'm
those
sorry, I thought it was done.
versus the schools that are under that percentage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Or at least a bonus for teachers to get them to want to be there
Right.
and stay there.
Right.
One of the things that Mr. Macias has said in the 2 years that I've been on this board, I've heard him say this countless times, and that is about the mental well-being of these students. When you, like you mentioned, you know, you got students that just get up and walk out the classroom. And, you know, I had an opportunity to kind of deal with one of those students once, and you're right. But what I found out in talking to the student, is because I know the student personally, and his dad asked me to talk to him. It had more to do with what was going on at home than what was going on in school. And that's the piece that, you know, I know we're doing all we can, but maybe we can tweak it a little and do it a little differently. Because if a student is acting out, and this doesn't apply to all, I'm sure, and, you know, our only answer is, okay, well, you go to the office, now you're suspended. You know, but nobody has found out, okay, what is the underlying problem, you know? I don't know, I know counselors talk to them, you know, the nurse, somebody, but there's gotta be something that we can do to try to get to
Communities
that.
and schools is gonna be a benefit to us when it comes to that getting to the underlying issue.
Right.
Communities and schools is going to be
Communities and,
in
schools.
schools.
It's an amazing program.
Program.
oh,
It's
a program,
nonprofit.
okay, I'm
That
sitting
we're
here
gonna
wondering what
partner
you're
with.
talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
They
Okay.
And I'll tell you, the district had it once at one of the campuses, and, there was some pushback about it, and Mr. Macias and I got off on the wrong foot, but we're coming back with communities and schools, and I do see the benefit of it, and I think that's really gonna be helpful for the socioeconomic.
And it's something that I think some of the board members might have wanted for years, and I can't answer why it hasn't happened, but they're delighted to partner with us,
Okay.
and I can tell you I'm delighted to have them in our district.
And it's not gonna cost us any money?
Oh, no, ma'am, it costs us money.
It's not free. It's not free.
Oh, wait, it was not free.
It's not
So,
free.
so trying to move this along with, we'll come up with some option C, so I think that is great. Throughout this presentation, if you get a light bulb and you think of another option, always let us know, because Bill's wheels are gonna be turning on this. But at this time, I really,
Benefit, if you can have an option B,
benefits,
the
benefits,
benefits
yes.
one.
Can I just clarify, you want us to look at doing something for the ones that have health insurance, but also doing something equal for ones that do not get the health insurance?
That would be the case, and it could be this combo ultimately. It could be a retention incentive for those that do not, but a smaller retention incentive for those that do, but the insurance benefit. It could be something along that lines, or just retention incentive for the thousands that are not, but better health insurance. But I would imagine they'd have to be comparable to even really have that real conversation. And then naturally, when you look at the investment that we would put in, the parameters the state has given us, is it impactful? I mean, can we get to zero where the employees don't have to pay anything, but they have benefits? I mean, what would that take, and is that even possible? So ultimately, that would be the dream, because then we have no choice. An employee that has to pay zero on benefits, I mean, good Lord. But,
That is a good.
but I'm giving you
Wow.
the spectrum. And so certainly, what does that look like for us to make an informed decision on what we want to do?
Well, too, a lot of the people that do not take insurance, being in the town we're in, are military.
Yeah.
Or their husband works for the government and they get good insurance there. So that's, we got, you know,
But if we have 2,000 employees on the program, that's a significant amount of employees. So the retention incentive and the benefit, I think, would sort of, if we're permitted to do that, be that balance, and what would that look like, and if it's even viable.
Yes, I do wish I had the insurance like some military people around this table that
Yeah.
have some very good
Yeah.
benefits. No, no,
I took a bullet for mine.
you deserve it. You're right, you did deserve it.
That was awesome.
even civil service people that work for, like me, I got great insurance. I don't pay when I go to see a doctor. I only pay $40 for any specialist, and that's one time as long as I've got them. So it's, I got good insurance.
No, you're right, insurance is
That's
very
better than
costly.
Well, we retired teachers are used to bad insurance. So what we've got now is more the same.
So one of the things that we all talk about is in regards to more programs, everything costs money. So one of the options that we do have is about a TRE. So I'd really like for us to get into that conversation, especially since we have the expert in the room, which is Dr. Walsh, not me. So we could go to that part right now, Bill, so, we don't keep him waiting.
This is John Walsh, and he's a retired CFO, and he did his doctorate, I believe, on the pennies in the state funding.
Who would ever wanna do that?
I'm glad somebody did.
Understands them backwards and forwards. He is now a consultant that helps districts pass TREs. He has worked with 190 districts and has a 96% success rate.
Okay.
And so, like I said, the swap is out, but remember, we're dropping our tax rate to 7 cents. There are now 8 golden pennies, there used to be 6. We already have 4. If we go for 4 more, then we would be dropping our current tax rate 3 cents, but it would generate about $11 million. So I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Walsh to kind of explain how that works.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It brought back old memories to hear a board talking about budget for the upcoming school year. It's a challenging time, but it's exciting. I appreciate your interest in making a difference in the lives of kids in your community. So, facing the challenges that we face, are there opportunities available to give us the additional revenue to address deficits and to address our priorities for our children? So which button do you press?
Is it working?
I don't think so.
Let me see if it's. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Okay, so there's 4 ways to generate additional money. One of them is to get more kids. I heard you talk about that, okay? Because losing kids, the way the state formula works is we make money when kids come to school every day. And if they don't come to school every day, we lose money, okay? Number 2 is if our property values increase, we make money. Well, we don't really control that unless we make the district so attractive that people want to give here, so then our property value goes up. And the other thing is you're running the kind of program that I think can and should attract more families to your community. The third thing is to do a better job collecting taxes. And I know you have delinquent tax attorneys and you try to get the information out timely. And, you know, basically you've said the same thing. You've got to offer a good program and you've got to tell people about it. Because if they're not aware of the fine job that you're doing, then there's a lot of distractions in our modern life, especially since the advent of the internet, Wi-Fi, Facebook, political turmoil. You know, there's a lot of distractions. Look at our families. They're almost always two workers supporting the family, if there are two, but they're working full time, and they have their own interest and they have their kids' interest. They're very busy people, so we have to communicate. And the last one is you can raise the tax rate. Not a very popular option. The legislature and the general public thinks that tax rates are too high. It's actually a combination of increasing values and in fact, rates have gone down historically. Remember, in 2005, the M&O rate for a school district was 150. And now the highest rate that any district has is 117. And most districts are higher than 104. Did you know that? There have been enough TREs that the average tax rate in the state is actually higher than that. But you're at 104. You've made a good effort to control your taxes. But that tax rate can generate significant additional dollars, and that's what my focus is. So, the state's pushing the tax rate down 7 cents. There are the number of pennies that are used to be the Austin pennies, the level 1 of tier 2. These are optional pennies. The state gave you 4 without an election. You got those. There are 8 available now. They increased the number of pennies from 6 to 8. So if you just captured those first, they're the best pennies in the whole system. You just capture all 8 of those instead of the 4 that you'll get without a TRE. You capture 4 more of them, you'll make $11.3 million more dollars than you do now. And the tax rate, instead of going down, you're adding 4 pennies, but the state's pushing it down 7, so you're still able to deliver a 3-cent tax decrease on the M&O side. Okay? So that's the bottom line of what I'm talking about. Now, this is an option. There are other options. Remember, Bill said there are pennies above that are not quite as lucrative as those, but they're pretty good pennies, and that's what I'm going to show you. Your voters, and the board only makes it possible for the community to decide whether they want this or not, okay? You have to say, yes, we want the community to have the opportunity to generate these additional funds. If you don't, then there will be no election, and this money is definitely not coming to Judson. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It has to be the majority of the board. Or it's either
It
yes
has
or
to
no.
be, I don't know, I haven't done my cut and paste of the new law with the old law yet. I'm waiting for the governor to sign it. But under current law, 5 of the 7 must approve a tax rate increase, okay? So it's not just 4.
Okay.
Right now, it's 5.
Okay.
I don't know if the law is going to change that or not.
There was nothing in the law changed.
Okay.
There was proposals to make it mandatory.
Yes.
Okay.
Property
So it
taxes.
doesn't
is
have
what
to
it
be
talks-
unanimous. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, it's going to help you communicate
Yes,
if the board
to
is
the
united on that issue.
Okay.
And the way the voters then could increase state funding for our children is by approving that M&O rate that adds new House Bill 3 enrichment pennies that do have to be adopted by the Board of Trustees in an election to ratify the school tax rate. In other words, you have to pull the trigger, and then you have to wait till November, and then the voters have to decide whether they want to approve those additional 4 pennies or not. Okay? And what this gives you is these highly funded House Bill 3 enrichment pennies provided by the state. When we tax a penny, we've got a a tax roll of approximately $10.6 billion dollars. That's the property, that's the value of all the property, including all the homes, all the apartments, all the businesses, all the farmland, if there's any left. Just add it all up, that's what it is. Now, when you tax that, 1 penny on that tax roll raises, you just move the decimal, it's 1 penny is 0.01, and it's per $100 valuation, so that's 4 decimal places. I'm an old math teacher. You just move the decimal 4 places to the left, and each penny makes $1,060,000, okay? So when you tax a penny in the Judson ISD, it raises about $1 million, okay? Now, these enrichment pennies, these level 1 of tier 2, the pennies that used to be tied to Austin but are no longer, they will raise $2.8 million based on the number of weighted students that you have, okay? So how much money does the state kick in? Your penny raises $1 million, and if you tax these pennies, you make $2.8 million. How much money does the state give you? 1.8 million. That's pretty good yield, isn't it? If you don't tax that $1 million, they don't give you the 1.8 million. Okay, you see the deal? Okay, now there's pennies above that. There's going to be 7.13 pennies above that. Of course, you'd have to adopt them, and they'd have to approve them. But each one of those would give you 1.4 million, so that would be an additional about 400,000 per penny. Okay, so that's what's available. You have to decide. You have to balance that every time you make a budget, and you've done this many times. You balance what your needs are against the revenue needed to address those needs, and the tax rate necessary to provide that revenue. So it's always a balancing act. Every year, every school district goes through that same struggle. So I just made a little chart, and I'm only looking at the M&O here. So this past year, your M&O rate was 104. And next year, if you do not do a TRE, your tax rate will be 97 cents. And that's the state delivering on their attempt to lower property tax rates. So they will cut it 7 cents. You will make $14.7 million more than you did this year with that, okay? Because they increased the basic allotment, they added all these other categories, they're giving you more money for comp ed and all the things that Mr. Atkins told you about. However, if you just kick it up 4 pennies, which is still 3 pennies less than you were last year, you see what I'm saying? It's still a tax decrease of 3 pennies, you can generate the additional 11.3 million and reach new revenue of 26 million. Okay? That's what a TRE, and this is a straight increase of 4 pennies, would do. If you don't do it, what are you doing? You're leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that? Okay, well, here's what we've got. In the Edgewood decision back in 89, the state said, we have a state system of public education, and the quality of a child's education should not depend upon the community they live in. The quality of any child in the state of Texas should be high and should be the same as what's available to any other student at the same cost to any other taxpayer in the state, okay? So it's fairness for children, equal educational opportunity, and also fairness to taxpayers, equal burden on all the people of the state to provide quality education. That's the equity standard in Edgewood. In all the court decisions, and all of them have been in favor of equity until the last one. And the ironic thing is, this is the first time the legislature has responded. All the time, they haven't really responded effectively when the court said that you had to, and now the court's saying you don't have to, and guess what? The legislature says, we're gonna try to really fix it and put some new money in here. It's great irony to be. But anyway, because the children in Judson ISD have the right to the same quality education as the children in Alamo Heights or Northeast or Highland Park or Deer Park, the only way we can get some of those additional resources is by using these pennies that the courts have essentially forced the legislature to do. But if we say no, then we're not really delivering our promise of equal educational opportunity. And it's a local decision. Okay, let's look in detail at these golden pennies. The yield per watt is 98.56. Like Bill said, the penny this year was an Austin penny and it produced $106. So we're down about $8, okay? So the state realizes the Austin penny is now worth $126 per watt. What's happening in Austin is, if you've been there lately, it's booming. Hotels, 6th Street, high-tech businesses. So they're buying up these old neighborhood houses and the people are leaving. So they've got it going both ways. Their value is increasing and they're losing kids. So what's their property wealth per student doing? It's shooting through the sky. The first year, back in 2006, the Austin penny was worth $40. And now it's worth $126. Guess what? Everybody that had those Austin pennies, every time Austin got richer, what happened? We got richer with our 4 Austin pennies. But now, that growth of these pennies, like Bill said, it's disappearing because it's tied to the basic allotment. The basic allotment does not go up very often. We've had that 5,001 forward for, I know, 3 or 4 years, the basic allotment. But anyway, what we do is we multiply it times our weighted students. Now, the difference between ADA, which is average daily attendance, is we only get paid for kids that come to school every day. So we average them out for every day in the school year, and that's our average daily attendance. But some of these kids are more expensive to educate than others, and I heard you talking about them. The educationally disadvantaged, the kids in special education, the kids in bilingual education, the kids in gifted and talented education, and don't feel like the state is backing away from gifted and talented. They just took the money that was a categorical and they slid it into the basic allotment. The program requirements to continue to offer high-quality, gifted and talented education did not go away. They're there. So they just recategorized the money. The money's still there, but the programmatic. And the other one is the career and technical. These are programs that are specialized learning, maybe require a computer or an auto mechanics lab or an ag lab. And the high school allotment went away. It's also folded into that higher basic allotment. So it looks like a lot of new money. Some of it is redirected money. Okay. So when you multiply that out, that's where the 2.8 million comes from. See, it's driven by students, not your property wealth. The more students you have, the more money this is. If we can figure out to track back some of these charter school students and other students, then we'll get richer, okay? We'll get richer on our basic allotment because there'll be more kids coming in. I mean, on the foundation program, we'll also get richer in the enrichment tier. Okay, so that's the 2.8 million. Now, the state says we guarantee you that when you tax one of these tier 1 pennies, one of these golden pennies, you're going to make 2.8 million. But you have to tax the penny, which for us raises $1 million, right? Okay, so how much money do they have to give us? $1,767,000. That's how much we make of state money from that golden penny. Now, I do something here that the state does not do, Omar does not do in his template, and I talk about a simple concept that we teach all our children, and it's called simple interest, okay? It's called return on investment. When I was studying to go to college, I would try to save money when I was in high school, but between hamburgers, soda water, and gasoline, I didn't save a whole lot. But anyway, I put $100 in a savings account. Back then, it was pretty good interest. I made 5%. So what that meant was the bank put $5 in that account. That was my rate of return. And the way you calculate the return on investment is you divide what you make from an investment by the amount that you invest. So what I invested was $100. My return was, what I made on it was 5. 5 divided by 100, we know that's 5%, okay? We're investing a penny with the state of Texas, aren't we? So how much are we investing? 1 million. 1 million. Okay, and how much do they have to give me? What am I going to make on that money in state money? Okay, divide 1.7 by 1 million. Guys, this penny pays 166%. Now, if you go to Randolph Brooks Federal Credit Union, are you going to make 166%?
No.
But Judson ISD, through its voters and its board, if they tax this 1 penny, they will generate 166% of additional money from the state that's going to come back to you to spend in your community on your kids. Now, where else can you get a better deal? Can any taxpayer in your district make that deal? You put it in the stock market, you may lose 166%. But the state, in the 13 years, they have never not paid these extra pennies. They've always paid them. This is as sure money as there is in the system. So anyway, is this a good investment? Okay. Let's look at the next pennies. Beyond that, they call them copper pennies, the legislature does, and it just says these are the first level and the second level. But that's weighted ADA. Remember, you have actually, how many kids? What's your ADA roughly? 21. But because some of those are hard to educate kids that are either economically disadvantaged. Yeah, they're weighted. The state sends you extra money in the enrichment tier because it's a number that you calculate. So even though you really only have 21,000 kids, the state funds these pennies on 28,000 because some of those kids are more expensive to educate. Right. The water number is critical. It helps the result be higher, see? Okay, so that, when you multiply that out, that's 80% of that other yield that was, that level 1 penny is 1.6 times the yield of your foundation penny, which is $61.60. That first penny was 98, half of that is 49. So they cut the yield in half. And it's 1.4 million, and the state only gives you 353,000. But the return on investment is still 33%. Now, does Randolph Brooks pay 50%, 33%? They don't do that. They don't. Is that a decent yield? If I could get that on my retirement IRAs, I would be thrilled.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But Judson ISD can get that kind of return if it taxes these pennies. Okay, we got one other penny that we tax. What else do we have to do besides run schools? Where do the kids go to learn? In what?
The building.
In the building. I put EDA here, you don't get any state money for funding because the guarantee is so low, but you do have to pay the principal and interest on your buildings, on your bonded debt, okay? So let's see how that works. The guarantee, the formula is in the state, they promise you $40 per ADA. Remember, that's the smaller number, the 21,000 number, not the 28,000 number. And you multiply it out, your ADA is 21.3, the guarantee is 812. The state's guaranteeing you $812,000, but guess what? When you tax a penny, how much do you make?
Yeah.
Do they have to give you any money to bring you up to 800?
No.
No. So what's your rate of return on that? 0. Okay? Do you see the difference here? On our enrichment pennies, they are a great investment. Is our debt penny a great investment in terms of return
No.
in the state helping us pay debt? They don't. Okay, we're making some choices with our tax rate. Here's what our pennies look like. Our penny without any help is the green bar is our money, okay? That's the $1 million. Okay, that level 1 penny, that's the additional money that the state gives us, the gold that's added. That's what we gain by adding those next 4 pennies. We got 4 of them, but we can get 4 more with the TRE. If we wanted to raise the rate more, we could go to the pennies above that. They don't yield as much, but they're still better than the unaided Judson penny. And what do we get for that? The state contributes 0. The last one is your debt aid, okay? It's all on the local. The state doesn't contribute anything. So that's the difference in the 3 kind of pennies we're talking about, okay? Does that help you grab it a little bit better? Okay. The best deal out there is those first 4 additional pennies. Banks produce about 2%. The 8 golden pennies produce 167%. The 11, that should just say copper pennies, 33%. Debt pennies produce 0. Where can you go and get that kind of return on investment for those M&O enrichment pennies? Your penny, if you take that $1 million and you divide by your 28,000 WADA, your penny generates $38.95. Okay, by itself. That's what you raise. That's when you tax a penny, it makes $36.95 for every weighted student in your district. That's how much each student gets. How does that compare to the guarantee? You get kicked up to $98.56 for those first 8 pennies above the 93 cents. Okay. If you went above that, you'd make $49.28. It's a little bit more, but it's not as much as the first pennies. If you added the 4 pennies, you'd make $11.3 million. This is a question for you. What people, if you decided to do this, people would ask you, what are you going to use it for? Okay, so you need to have an answer. Now, people are always going to say, what does it cost me, right? What do we get? What does it cost? That's called, they may not know it, it's called cost-benefit analysis, right? And we all have gifts. Some of us have financial gifts, some of us have other talents. We may run the 100-yard dash or lift weights or be a ballerina. But if we are not good at the math, what do? We find somebody else that we know and trust, know the numbers, and we ask them, okay? So your voters are always doing cost-benefit analysis. So what do you think the cost-benefit analysis of this is? The rate goes down 3 pennies and you make $11 million. Is that an attractive deal to a lot of people? Is it winnable? Maybe. It could be. Okay, so but what does it cost them? So here's the answer to that question. Last year, the market value of the average residence was $165,000. $100,000. The taxable was $137,000, thanks to that $25,000 homestead exemption. And the rate, including the 104 plus the 40 debt pennies, was 144, and the total bill was $1,976.62 for the whole year. This coming year, based on the preliminary numbers we got at the end of April, the market has gone up to 176, the taxable has gone up to 150, so we've had a healthy increase in value. Even though the rate drops 3 pennies, the bill still goes up. It goes up $146, which is a little more than $12 a month, okay? So anyway, that's the tax rate impact. Even though the rate is dropping 3 pennies, because of the increase in value of the average home, the bill is going up. There have been 13 years. This past year, we just had 65 TREs and 59 passed and 6 failed, okay? Yes, ma'am?
Dr. Walsh, can you go back to that there? I wasn't a good math student, so let me just start there. The valuation of the average home used to be $100,000. Now it's 165?
That's market. That's before your homestead exemptions, yes.
Okay. That was-
Well, it's actually,
For next year predicted the 170.
Okay.
they're
All right,
saying
that's what I wanted
it's
to
gonna be 179.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, but
Wow.
but the average exemption for the homestead and other exemptions is pushing it down to 150, and that's what the bill is,
Okay,
okay?
thanks.
So, about 565, there's roughly 1,000, there's 1,017 districts, okay? So over half of them have already done TREs, okay? Have tried, and it's around 87% of the districts that have tried them have passed it. Now, some of them had to have more than one election. They either didn't go for all 13 pennies, and they did it twice, or they tried and failed, and they came back again. The ones that tried and failed and came back again, most of them won the second time,
Okay.
because they realized what they did wrong,
I was gonna say, they probably.
they were persistent.
Yeah.
They said, this is needed,
This is what we need.
yeah. And at that time, 57%, and it's probably more like 65% now. 65% of the districts have already passed TREs. Is this a fringe activity? Heck no. This is a mainstream activity, right? Everybody. It's not unusual for this to happen. Okay. So, a big change that they made, it's in the law, they've changed the ballot language, and it's no longer, last year the ballot would have said how many pennies above the rollback rate you're proposing. It would have said we're proposing a rate of what's 101 plus 40? 141, which is 8 cents above the rollback rate. That's what the ballot would have said last year. And it would have also said, for the purpose of generating another 11.3 million while reducing the tax rate 3 cents. That's what you could have put in the ballot. Does that help voters to understand
That
it
would
and
help them
perhaps
understand.
approve it?
Yeah.
Okay. Look what they changed in the ballot. Now it says, ratifying the ad valorem tax rate of 141 in the Judson ISD for the current year, a rate that will result in an increase of 5.6% in maintenance and operations tax revenue for the district for the current year as compared to the preceding year, which is an additional 5.5 million. The 5.5 million is what we would. Remember, we're making 11.3 million. There's still information that you can get, but it's not on the ballot, okay? But generally, the people only look at the ballot as they're looking at it with other information that you're allowed to provide, as long as it's factual and as long as you don't tell them to vote for it. Remember, like in a bond election, you cannot spend employee time or tax money. So that's it. Oh, there's one more thing. This may be the best year to try a TRE. Why? The state is compressing the tax rate, giving us an opportunity to ask voters to approve an M&O rate increase while lowering the total tax rate. The last time it happened was 2007. You wait till next year, the rates will be pushed down, and if you want to go for the 8 pennies, then you're increasing the tax rate next year. And any future TRE will likely increase the total rate and require a new thing is, if you want to do this year there's no efficiency audit required. You have to hire an auditor to come in and tell you where you can tighten up and find ways to save money. You have to spend money to do that before you are allowed to ask them to approve it. That's in the future, okay? So this is two possible reasons why you may want to consider doing it this year. And that is it. And be happy to answer any questions.
When can we do it?
The question was, when can we do it?
All right, they've also moved, in the past, I've done TREs in May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. And now you must do them on the November before election day.
The November.
By November.
November.
Let's get going then.
Is it
And
possible?
because you're July 1 district, you have to adopt the budget before July 1.
Right.
But you can't set the tax rate until you get the final certified value, which is usually around July 25th. And normally you actually set the rate in August. And that process would continue, right? Yes. So it,
And in order to meet the election requirements, we would have to set the rate and call the election 72 days before the general election, which is mid-August.
We can make it.
It's a certain.
Say,
So,
Yeah.
we just wanted to
That'd
provide
help us a lot.
information, so as y'all have discussions, just another tool, an option on the table.
Good information, thank you, Dr. Hall.
Is it possible to get a copy of your PowerPoint?
Oh, that's what I want too.
yes, if you sign a contract.
Send me a picture or two, I saw you. I'm gonna just ask that read.
It can be
My
attorney-client
documentary.
privilege if you like.
I can text it to you.
where were we?
I took a picture of it.
She took the picture.
Budget
But I
request?
Yes, but I do want to make sure, any questions or anything for Dr. Walsh that anybody wants to?
How much does he charge?
His basic fee is $6,000.
Okay.
And then if you're successful, it's $4 per law. If you're not successful,
He gives us $4.
he'll do another election for you, and you don't have to pay the $6,000. So
Oh, I
$6,000
see.
for 2 elections.
If we had to do another one,
If it didn't
I
pass.
see, if it did not pass, I see.
And if it didn't pass, then we're out $6,000.
So 6,000, Mr. LaFoy,
It's a good gamble.
if it passes.
It's better than playing the cards.
So
And he's
It's kind of merit pay. I don't get paid unless you win.
Yeah,
So I just want to give the
Well-
board an opportunity to ask him any specific questions and.
I do have some questions. In terms of the promotion, would we be able to articulate a message to the community that would give sort of a vision of where this increased allocation that we would receive, where it would go? Can we be?
Certainly, that's factual information. You certainly can make that part of your voter education effort.
Okay, so we would need to understand where the board would like to see this money allocated to, and do all this before August, because we would have to vote on this in August, so it would be on the November ballot. Is that right?
And I'll get to that.
He said no behind you, so what part?
Well, no, it's, right, it wouldn't, you don't actually set the rate until August.
Okay, but we can work towards that, I guess. And we still have, well,
we would still have a little time after August, because we just have to set the rate and vote and say we want to do this, but in September or leading up to the election, we can continue to refine what that message needs to look like.
Next week.
So what we're saying then is, let me just ask you, Mr. Macias, you're talking about community forums,
There has to be,
like you would for a bond?
absolutely.
Okay.
But,
And who's the face of that? Dr. Ball
I would imagine.
or Dr.
Dr.
Walsh?
No,
Dr. Ball.
it would be myself with
Okay.
senior staff.
I see.
We would go on a road trip
Okay.
of making several presentations, starting everywhere, sorry, I didn't mean to.
HOAs and
City
council
mayors,
meetings, okay.
councils, our own community, you know,
Mhm.
just, we have 7 municipalities that we would
Right.
be getting out
Okay.
there in front of and voting
Okay.
on. A lot of key players would be individuals that sit on our site-based management, that are the business and the community individuals. Each one of senior staff represents one of the municipalities, and they go to their meetings.
Okay.
So they would be doing a lot of the legwork, so along with the board going with us, you know, and sharing.
And I would say that my plan for my district in 4 was to meet with every HOA in August and every PTO in September. So there will be just natural alignment with me reaching my constituency during that period of time. And I can pretty much now, if we're gonna do this in August, this will be a potential topic, and obviously I'd be very supportive.
Only thing I would say is, Mr. Macias, you gotta use the same script.
Yeah, we could be on the same.
Everybody's gotta have the same.
We would provide, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Same
yeah,
script,
yeah.
yeah.
We would provide that literature and that information and a PowerPoint, and of
Mhm.
course, if you would like to invite us, we definitely go with you, but we would have all of that material for you, just like I meet monthly with the PTO members, we would be sharing this information with them, we would be going to campus PTO meetings. All I need is, the board to give us the green light that we want to go,
Mhm.
for this, and
Mhm.
then we get started on rocking and rolling and making it happen.
So is this a general consensus?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Is this a
Yeah.
general
Yeah,
consensus?
we can't
of-
vote now, so.
No, I'm just asking
Okay,
for an
yeah, just
informal
general consensus.
consensus.
Should we pursue this?
Yeah,
Should we go forward?
I agree.
Okay.
I think it's.
Yeah, I would agree, but I think equally important is formulating what we will be doing
Yeah.
with these revenues, because
Yes.
otherwise, the perception is, we're just getting this money, and the question I got, you know, literally, I walked 1,000 doors.
Yes.
Between February
Yes.
and May,
Mhm.
okay? And people, the most common response was about the tax rate, and people felt that they were being taxed out
That's true.
of their home.
Mhm.
So if, you know, part of the message, I believe, has to be about reducing, that this is reducing tax rate, but equally, you know, is the perception of, or giving a reality to the perception that we have all this money. I mean, that's the perception.
That is true. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to be able to give a message as to exactly what are we going to be doing with this new source of revenue. I
Getting
think
rid
that-
of our
Balance
$10
Yes.
million debt.
Yes, right.
And one of the things I will just say, since they just passed House Bill 3, because we didn't know when the TR was going to be allowed, we only had a day and a half to work on this. This is kind of, if we went, the 3-cent tax reduction is kind of the worst case. We may be able to achieve additional tax rate reduction and still get the full debt. So, because of our INS side.
Okay.
Okay, we just haven't had a chance to look at that. So when we come back on the 12th, we may actually have a better picture.
Okay.
Okay, it may be better for the taxpayers, that's what I'm saying. We won't get any additional money, but it
But
may be
it's
better.
better
for
for
the
the taxpayers.
You're gonna come back with how much, where this money's going and all that? Where we perceive it's going.
Yes, sir.
So I'm for moving ahead.
Okay, I am too.
Jose?
I'm good.
Is
You?
he-
What happened?
Are you
Trying
going
to
ahead?
get consensus on
Sleep
whether
it
to move
again.
ahead with this or not. Are you?
Okay, I'm on board,
Just
I'm on
make
board.
it- I want
I'm
it-
trying to get all these acronyms, I mean,
I know, there's so many.
INSI. I know y'all work with it every day, but I'm sitting over here going, okay, INSI.
Interest and.
Interest.
Oh, I got it now, they hooked me up, I was writing it down. Try not to have to ask the same question twice.
Now, Dr. Ball, when would we start then to start formulating at least a loose idea of what this, TRE would fund?
Hopefully in about 7 minutes.
7 minutes?
So two more slides, and then I want to take a break, and then we'll.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The next two slides.
Excuse me, I just wanna say, you know what, I neglected, and Ms. Canoia just reminded me, we have another significant board member who's absent today.
Yes.
And we're going to need to give her,
I will call her and
This
share this
information.
information and get her on board.
I don't doubt that she wouldn't want to move forward, but I would like for her to have the opportunity.
Yes,
to
absolutely,
express, okay.
absolutely.
I'll text her the slides.
Okay.
The next slide is just, some things that I think the board's used to seeing. So there's some payroll budget items from HR. There's no new positions. There are some reclassifications. You can see those. The big one is our LSSPs, moving those to 226 million. And that's just due to the increase in testing for dyslexia. The next page is positions that we've eliminated or held over this year, and you can see the savings, the cost of avoidance really is what it is. The next page is a group of budget requests that have come in with people's budgets. Just like I said, told people we don't have the funds, we're in a deficit budget, but put it in, and we'll let you know this is the list that we've got from the people. Yes, ma'am.
So Dr. Ball, you went to each department and asked them to put together a wish list?
So what they do is they got their money, and when they get their money, they had a pot, so to say, and then from there, they put together the things that they still need, even though their budget didn't cover it. Okay?
So they did their budget, and then they still had some things
That
that
they
they thought they
needed.
needed. And so they told us what those were.
Okay.
I just created a list
Okay,
with the dollars that goes with it.
knowing that we have this deficit.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
So at this time, if we could just go into what.
I was just gonna ask, can we ask questions on some of these things?
Yes, but I do want us to take a 5-minute little break real quick.
Oh, I'm ready for that one.
Thank you. And then at that time, we'll come in and then
Okay,
we'll start the
okay.
true discussion.
There's some there that are,
So
I
we
was,
can start it.
Yeah, who's asking for new Suburbans?
Yes, well, we take this one.
We'll do that
Oh,
after the break.
oh, okay.
And,
I got an old van they can use.
we're having a 5-minute break right now at 11:05.
It's a revenue generator, people from outside the district. Right, that's a good idea. That's a Yeah, I know, my legs would get stiff, I'll be like, no, get me up.
Good meeting. Oh, because of those bees? Oh, yeah. All right, I'll stand right here. Oh, yes. Yeah, well,
cold, yeah.
Because I'm
And if I'm
freezing.
cold, I'm sure you're freezing.
Gosh, yes.
Poor Betty.
So it's current. And this comes in the mail?
How you doing, Dr. Ball? I'm doing good, except for freezing.
We need to look into right there.
Was gonna bring a sweater in. Oh, thank you. Oh.
Gets this in the mail.
Can I see it?
That's what I'm showing you.
Oh, good.
Yes. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Do you want my Oh, you're so sweet. No, I just adjusted it right now. Oh, you brought one.
Yes, I bring a blanket in my bag.
Sometimes she has a blanket in board meetings.
Yeah, I bring it in my bag. Stadium blanket. 2 degrees, that's the difference.
Yeah, I just adjusted it, so yeah.
They're lucky. I'm like, you guys are gonna miss the best part. We're gonna get into it now. Yeah, that's good. Is it ready 11:10? Oh, crap. No wonder. August 10th.
August 10th
10th is
works?
good. 24th will too, but for the 10th, earlier in the summer, I don't know, the bug school year.
Yeah, the 10th. It's just really hard to find a date.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you Monday.
We only have which, when we spoke about this, I think, about the profession of like cultivating their leadership and the recruiting old pipeline. Are you home too?
If I'm cold, I know y'all are freezing.
But if they're in your cabinet, I would imagine. But that's what I'm trying to get. You can't get big chunk of principal suits. But you can definitely make a jump from the cabinet member to suit. And even if ultimately they decide to do this, the skill set. But if we were ultimately going to which I mentioned, board meeting that we end up having trouble with select board. But for administrators, just like teachers, just like our vision, we had a vision years ago to do more, and if you know now, what can we do? So, yeah, what are you gonna say?
But it'll come back. It'll come back.
Promise not to take any action.
Oh my, there's no,
Then let us take action.
There-
We're not allowed to.
yeah, there's no action to be taken.
We have some rule followers that'll make sure that doesn't happen.
All right, well then I'll go. So you don't have to go into the other room to discuss things.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney.
Thank you.
Well, no action.
Promise you.
You know, something I would love to see happen, like we got all these little local newspapers. I don't know if they charge to put articles in them, but I'd like to see something about what we're doing every month, you know, one of our programs highlighted in them every month.
Yeah, and the other one, the one behind there, the northeast one, that one always asks us for information, so that one should always have something on it. But double check me if it doesn't this week, this time, but it almost always does. Because what I usually do on that one is I cut it out and I handwrite a note to the students, say
Oh,
congratulations.
cool beans, okay.
So that one is very good about it.
I mean, cause I know there are more, there's one that gets delivered to my house every week, whether I want it or not.
Special coming back? They're
I mean,
ready.
cause my
Start
thing
finding
is,
it.
if one of our students call you, they wanna talk about it, but they, you know, we got that excellent culinary program, that fashion show we had. Somebody, they should've put that in the paper, showed a couple of the outfits and interviewed one or two of the students or something.
I've seen my daughter all month now, so she's home for the summer.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
So she's got a little baby bug.
So she's home for the summer?
June and July.
That is
She'll be spending summer. She goes to school in Clearbrook in Friendswood, high school.
But you've been to Michigan how many times without a beer? Oh, okay.
5 minutes.
Okay, let's go.
Why? We ain't got 5 minutes yet.
I think we did.
Did she show you that thing?
Yeah, let me keep it, so.
Okay, yeah. you
So
can
I
have
Is it okay if she keeps it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no, thank you, Yeah, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't think we
I
have.
looked all through it, and
Are we still on
they're,
live?
they're praising themselves up real good, and I'm gonna check and see if everybody in my neighborhood got it. And if they did, that means they're trying to suck kids from us to them.
We thought you wanted to stay with us.
Well, the border is in.
Everybody else was leaving.
That's
I was
okay.
like,
They're
all
"See,
released.
This is a good man, he's staying with us.
So that when they target, they probably go wider to make sure that
Well,
they get.
Wouldn't
They
be an
have-
intrusion, trust me.
In my subdivision, they have 12 kids going to Northeast. Isn't that stupid? Then you go over the next one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 streets going
Okay.
over.
Yeah, but first I'm
To
gonna
us,
do
back
this,
and
this is
forth.
still public. This is, I still have, some discussion on this and then.
Okay. All right, so,
Mr. Moore, these.
Yeah, no, this is still open,
okay.
Well, she makes
All right,
sure-
we're back in
she
open
makes
session
sure I
at
get enough
11:15.
of those.
okay? So,
You're not supposed to
what
have
you
this.
have before you are some of the things that we could discuss about putting into our system through the TRE. So I wanted us to look at these and to have some discussion if you would know of some other things, but these are some of the requests that have been made, that we currently, of course, don't have in the budget. Number 25 specifically is, Ms. Eaton, the one that you were talking about that we recently came out in the news?
24.
Oh, is it 24?
Uh-huh.
It's
I was just
25.
gonna-
No, it's 25.
Parent student tracking.
It's 25.
Oh, I see, that's what that is?
Yes.
Yep. So that would allow us to know when kids are on and off the bus, if they're really there. So it's a way of tracking, so, you know.
So what's 24?
Computer program to work on buses. So that is just to update some of the computer programs that the buses need, just, but not the way we think of computer programs as, for tracking kids or anything like that.
Think about your car, the computer, you know, yeah.
Okay, sensors and
Yeah.
stuff like that, oh.
Yeah.
Something that's not on here that I'd
Uh-huh.
like us to consider
Yes.
is, going back to our 22-to-1 student ratio in
Oh,
elementary.
great one, great one.
That would be a priority item for me.
Yes, that's
What,
a great
I'm
one.
sorry, what we write?
22 to 1.
2 years ago, we raised our student-teacher ratio at elementary to
Right.
24-to-1.
Right.
And I would like that to go back to the state mandated 22-to-1.
22.
And every level went up too, right?
But we've already taken steps at high schools to look at smaller class size, so we would want to look at elementary and middle. I think the middle schools have not been oversized like some of our elementaries have been.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I think that one is perfect, and I think that that's the type of things that will get people to go out and vote. I don't think that the majority of these.
None of them.
are.
None of them.
I'm thinking, one of the things that we asked the TRE, we go back and having a librarian
Yes.
at every campus.
Mhm.
GT teacher at every elementary.
Those are the things that I
Yes.
think.
People care.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well,
That-
number
that's-
16.
That's gone though, cause you lost a
Yes,
lot of good
yes.
librarians.
Well, maybe they'll come back.
Maybe they
Or other
will.
people will.
When you hear people are going to these different schools, the student to teacher ratio is a big issue that you
Absolutely.
hear as to why people will choose to go
That's
outside
right.
of the district, and if you attack those kind of things,
Well,
you create incentive for them to come back.
And I'm still going to advocate that we have even better summer initiatives or after-school
I agree.
initiatives.
Mhm.
That still is, we gotta do that. And I'd like to see what that increase in student-teacher ratio looks like, because if it's, makes
An
more
increase
sense.
or
No, decrease, to
Oh,
go,
decrease,
when we do that, is it going to be, more effective to put teacher aides instead? Is that gonna be less costly to support the teacher in the classroom when they're 24-1, as opposed to just reducing it 22-1? So that possibly could be another route to take to get the support, because as I mentioned, teachers need resources, and so we need the resources.
As a former teacher, having an aide did not truly help the number of bodies in the classroom. And when you look at this, the sizes of our schools, and like at 5th grade, where we can go 25 to 26-1, that's too many kids in a classroom. Having an aide who, we wouldn't be able to have one at every
Well,
class that was high, because the cost would be there. So
I don't know what the cost would be, but obviously, what would it look like?
it's not just cost though, it's how effective it is, and
Of course.
in terms of, we're talking about social, emotional learning. Having more kids in a classroom creates more opportunities for tension and
And
problems to happen.
aides can't help with that? I think they could, so I just wanna look at it, I'm not saying that you're right or wrong.
As a teacher, no.
But certainly would like to, and then also, one thing that I continue to advocate is that we ask our teachers what they want. We ask them, what resources will help you in the classroom?
They have
Do
told
you-
me
what-
over and over again, they
Let's
want
get it
fewer
official,
students.
let's get it official, let's ask them, and then find out that it's a 22-1, or if it's something else. It doesn't hurt to include our teachers in this process, so.
I got one thing on here.
Yes, sir?
Number 6, pool heating and piping.
Yes, sir.
The thing is, when are we gonna get off our dead butt and go ahead and build an auditorium?
We could definitely look at that for our bond. I would like to look at that for our next bond.
Because the thing is, we keep pouring money into this hole in the ground over there. And it isn't efficient for the kids at all to
Right.
take swimming.
No, I think this whole area could definitely use an
Yeah,
auditorium.
and first thing she said is, we'll get us money back, because in the summertime, we can rent it out to the,
Oh, absolutely, we could have swim classes.
Yeah.
We could, yes, there's a lot of great things
Water
that we could do. But
Oh,
absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely, but that one is, it was so costly that it wouldn't go through with TRE.
Right.
We would definitely have to go for a bond,
Uh-huh.
and I have no problem in a few years going for that.
And we could have so many partners.
Yeah, partner with one of the municipalities.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
so yes,
it'd be position, where you put it too.
right. The other one that might be one to consider is number 22, because this is something that goes directly to, service
Yes.
kids. So that one could be, something that we look at.
And Judson got new uniforms already.
Yes, ma'am.
21,
21?
refurnish
Okay.
Rutledge
track.
Stadium track. I went out to it, we need it.
Okay.
Because if we run, they're gonna run UIL all summer long now.
AAU.
Every, AAU, that's right. I knew I got the wrong one mixed in. And they're gonna wear it some more. So if we expect to have any big meets here, they'll come over and take one look at that track and say, no, we can't do it.
I like number 22 also because it's something the kids use. I want it to be about something that'll benefit our kids and our teachers.
Well, that's 22 is the band uniforms.
I'm sorry, I meant 21,
Yeah,
sorry.
but that we need too, because we do that, what, every 5 years?
It's a rotation.
Yeah, rotation on them.
I would say anything here that has to do with facilities
Wait for the bond.
for the bond, and the non-tax increase infrastructure bond will wipe all of this out, and we don't have to worry about putting allocations to facilities. We put the money where it makes an impact in the classroom. And that's really what I think the community wants to see, what's the impact in the classroom? So when you have $1 million allocated for buses that we could easily put on an infrastructure improvement bond, that's where we should be focusing that on. And I think I've asked in previous meetings for some sort of projection of how that would look like, so that we can say 2 years from now, we'll put it on the ballot for May for a non-tax increase infrastructure improvement bond to include all of this. Because a lot of this is, I mean, when you see the HVAC and the buses and it's all
The
facilities.
broilers.
Yeah, all that can be
So
purchased on a
who are
bond.
these 2 Suburbans for?
For transportation.
For small groups,
Me and Mr.
for traveling.
Right, we currently have some right now.
I think so.
So sometimes when either small groups of
students, whether it's
Who,
UIL,
yeah.
you know, I'm just giving examples
Put
of
it on there.
poetry or drama. Or when a group of teachers is going to a staff development, sometimes
Oh.
they all carpool
I
with
see.
that together. So just different groups of, that don't need the whole big bus to go.
What is,
Is the
what,
wheelchair lifts, is that
That
to
was
be
what I was
in
gonna say.
compliance with like ADA or something?
We are in compliance, but our population for special ed is really rapidly growing, so
I would
we
think
would
that would be
Student related.
student related.
So that's gonna be, it's for the
28,
bus?
28,
23.
For the bus?
3.
On us.
23.
Yeah, I was looking at that, that's, I was gonna ask you, it's for the
Number
buses, right?
18.
18.
I'd like to find out how much they're paying rental before we put out 100,000 for something we probably use once or twice a year.
Okay, I'll find out more,
Yeah.
okay?
Now, the broilers though, just out of curiosity,
Number 9.
no, you got two of them, number 9 and number 16. Oh, the pack, okay, and, Ed Franz, okay.
Yep, and those we could definitely, I'm thinking that in 2 years approximate, we should be going out for another bond. All our projects should be done at that time, and we should be looking at
This one, number
different
10.
projects. So in 2 years, we should be addressing that, and we could include lots of these with the purchase of also buses.
Okay,
Our district really does.
so those
need
can
buses.
wait then?
It's a hard wait, but it should definitely wait.
Okay.
It's a because keep in mind that we have a couple of things, still our deficit, but we do need to get something. So it's not like, even though Dr. Walsh said, I think it was what, $9 million or something like that we could get. I'm not looking at spending it all because we still have our deficit to take care of.
Right.
But I think these are great ideas. I love the reduction, the librarian, the GT teachers, I think is good. The track, the uniforms, the wheelchair, the parent-student tracking. And from what I'm hearing is also, I will call an ESAC meeting with all my ESAC members for either June or July. Share this information with them, and then ask them to let the teachers know and let them know we're gonna put out a survey to get feedback as to what they would like. And
What
then
is
I could
ESAC?
Oh, Employee Student Advisory Council.
Okay.
So I meet with those individuals once a month, and they're kind of my voice, giving me information, sending back information, just so it's not always coming from the administrators, it's from their peers. So it's working really well to get that information.
One thing on here, it says install security fencing at maintenance. You know, a 2-year-old kid could get in there. There's no problem. And we've lost big bucks. When they steal a piece of our equipment, 90% of the time, we don't get it back. And we've lost big bucks on that.
Would you like for me to look at that one then?
Yeah, please do. Go over and take a look.
Tell me. God
Excuse
bless
me.
you. What number was that one, sir?
14.
That's number 14.
14.
The
Boy.
justification for number 1.
Who am I allergic to? Am I allergic to?
That the ones that we currently have right now are going to be outdated in 1 year. So that's the justification. It's the sequence, not the sequencing, frequency of a radio
Oh,
that,
yeah.
all police departments are.
Yeah, they
has
aren't
to be on the
connected.
Same frequency. And the current old radios that we have don't allow them to be on the same frequency.
Is
I
that
would think
car
that would be high
radios,
priority.
portable
No.
radios?
Oh, the
Okay.
portable that they.
The radios they use to communicate with one
Yes.
another.
I think that would be a high.
Yeah.
And based on,
Every year though?
Yes, ma'am.
Before they're out there?
okay.
So-
And I have a plan for that too.
Every year.
what, all of this is requests from our departments, right?
Right.
So, again, meeting parent needs, what are parents asking for? And again, I'm gonna wait till June to see the survey, but maybe we could see it beforehand. But incorporating their desires, this is what I think is going to move things if we're able to satisfy what they're needing. And so, in this is obviously not comprehensive in any way, shape, or form, so, the professional development allocation, having top-notch professional development would be something we could allocate resources to, or is that?
I want to stick to using our categorical funds for that, because that's what the
we could definitely always use local, but we have good categorical funds to be able to get that.
Meaning,
Title II, so all the categorical funds that we get that are supposed to be used for staff development.
okay, well, I obviously think like in anything, there's room for improvement.
Sure.
And so if there's a, opportunity to utilize some of our M&O or some other funding to support a more district-wide effort, title is allocated to those campuses. I know that you've come in and you've changed it, so multiple campuses now are titled based on the whole pre-K deal, but that's not how it always had been.
Right.
And so
You're right.
only certain schools were receiving sort of the same, or these allocations for development. So now we need to make sure that we have a uniform process, we set the stage up for that, but what more can we add to it? I don't know, and Region 20 may have some suggestions, I need to probably talk to them too, but it's certainly, there is room for it.
I'll go back and.
You talking Title I or Title II?
Entitled, there's various categories.
I'm talking
So
utilizing.
Title I is what is used to supplement for low socioeconomic struggling, that. And then Title II is a separate category of funds, and that's where staff development comes from, and it doesn't have any effect on the Title.
That's why I was
Okay.
asking you, so
I appreciate,
Title.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But regardless of that allocation, it has been different. And so now Dr. Ball has kind of set the stage for, I guess, better uniformity, because most of our campuses now are titled. And now we can have a district type of effort, and ensure that every teacher is getting the same type of support and more if necessary.
Absolutely.
And I still go back to the survey that we did under Dr. Montoya's administration that stated the #1 problem teachers were having was classroom management. And that's normally something you would see with new teachers. So what are we doing to really help them?
Right,
And we put too many kids in the classroom. We bumped it up, and the teachers have more kids in the classroom to deal with. And less kids, that's gonna help.
I don't know, when you hear cases of students storming out of classrooms, it could happen in 22-1 or 24-1. So I just think that our kids need a little more support, and if we arm our teachers with the skills to do that, they'll be better prepared to address it.
It wasn't as bad when we had less students in the classrooms, because it seems like all of one classroom will get 4 or 5 of the disadvantaged children in there, and they get together, they know each other, and the next thing you know, you got problems.
I hope so.
I got something else here, though. Replace 2 vans at maintenance and 2 Suburbans. Are we gonna get them all from the same company? Maybe get a better deal?
Right now, my suggestion is that we don't even purchase them.
Really?
Yes.
How bad
Right
is,
now, Mr.
how bad are the vans at maintenance? Cause I seen a truck at maintenance that I wouldn't have, I'd be more happy to see it in a junkyard.
Yes, sir, I'm not gonna deny they are old, but right now, I'm still looking at ways to cut.
Okay.
And, I'm gonna use one of your examples. If I have had to cut a librarian, I don't feel that I'm doing justice to our kids if I buy 2 vans.
See, yeah,
I,
yeah.
That'd be a good swap for me.
Okay, so the hard work comes on the next page, okay? The cost savings. So we have some plans, you know,
Oh,
for
I got
our
something on here.
CRE and everything, but I still have to be in the mind frame of we need to still find ways to reduce. You have asked me repeatedly to find ways to reduce. So here are some ideas.
Ooh, number 15 is interesting.
And, and what you could tell me is, hey, Dr. Ball, don't touch that, or you can say, hey, Dr. Ball, explore that and maybe bring that back. So these are some things that I brainstormed, Bill and I brainstormed, the senior staff and I brainstormed, and I am not saying that these are great ideas, but they are ideas. So looking at this list, number 7
Oh.
is my favorite, but let me explain why.
Mm.
Selling of the central office in the ERC complex, all of this, the reason it is my favorite idea is because these walls, this building has no mortgage, has no family to feed, has no feelings the way adults do. When I do something to an adult, it's something I take very seriously because everybody has a mortgage, a family to feed, and I'm affecting somebody's livelihood. By selling these buildings, there's no feelings
Where would you all be relocated to though?
At a small elementary campus that is small, but then those students will be distributed and the boundaries lines would change to go to the other campuses, so we no longer have.
Which one you talking about? You talking about the selling this building now or the campuses?
Both. Wait. When I say both.
Let's do one at a time.
Okay, central office and ERC.
These two buildings?
Both of them, and we build new?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir. I
Where
would,
would we move the offices to?
I just asked that, you weren't listening to what she said.
No, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
we would go into an elementary campus.
Which would be
We-
preferably, if you thought about it, you thought about the campus?
One of our small elementary schools would close and the people would move into it.
Wow.
Now, what campus are you thinking of?
Well, think of the small elementaries.
Okay.
Well, we got two right here in Live Oak. Two small ones here in Live Oak.
Well, one is in UC?
And one's in Live Oak.
Again, but for all the people that are watching, I just wanna say these are ideas.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this
Okay.
because I wanna keep everybody employed and
Uh-huh.
because I want to give raises to our people that deserve raises. And again, this building doesn't
I
have
see.
a family
Okay.
or a mortgage or kids that they're putting through college.
Mhm.
So again, it's not,
It's brick and mortar.
yes, ma'am.
Well, I put no's and yeses on all of them here, so I guess I'll go down the line.
So
It's okay.
ask me questions on all of these, please. Ask me questions. I could go through each one if you would like me to. You want me to go through each one?
Go.
Okay.
Yeah,
So right now, all the principals, my suggestion would be is move all the principals to 202 contract. They all work more than 202 right now. Again, this doesn't affect their pay, so they would get a reduction in pay. And you see then on the right-hand side, what the reduction could be if I move everybody to a 202.
High school principals too?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't even know the words to put.
the ones that were, how many, what are they working now?
So elementary works 216 and high school, secondary, 226.
Well, this wouldn't eliminate any of the school year actually, would it?
It would all be during the summer.
Okay,
It would all be during the summer. I guess the best way to look at it is they would have a longer summer break. That would be, I guess, the positive.
well, a lot of them would like that, that it wouldn't like no pay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Number two, the thought could be that maybe we would have less coaches. That would be that we would have fewer assistant coaches.
at high school level, elementary level, what?
We only have them usually from middle on to high school, so, specific.
Because right now, elementary normally has two coaches for the kids.
No.
I'm not
There's no
talking-
coaches in elementary.
Yeah, I'm not talking
Well,
about.
There's a
they,
PE teacher.
PE teachers,
Yeah.
And an
they
A.
call themselves coaches.
Yes, I know, but they're not.
Right.
They're
I'm
not paid
thinking of
coaches.
athletic,
They're paid teachers.
UIL type sport coaching.
Okay, and there's no UIL in elementary.
No, middle
So
school,
middle school, high school.
yeah.
The next one was, I thought about offering an incentive for retirement. Anybody that's close to retiring, you get an incentive of $10,000, and then that position is eliminated. Okay? Then I thought about.
Wait. You can't eliminate teacher positions. Are you talking about?
Positions that could be eliminated, mainly administrators.
Okay, okay.
Mainly
Okay.
administrators. Then I also have thought about absolutely no training or conferences paid out of local. We only use our categorical funds, and that's all the title, SCE, all the categorical type of funding, but no local. Okay, then right now, senior staff, when they go around the district, they turn in mileage to me, that I would eliminate that, and no senior staff member would get mileage.
How much they get mileage?
It depends where they go. Sometimes.
I mean, what's per mile?
It's the,
I think it's 30.
it's the same,
Same as we get?
Mhm.
yeah.
50,
It's
Yeah,
set by
50
the
cents a
state.
mile,
Yeah.
whatever that.
Yeah.
50
It's set
point
by
something or
IRS
other.
or the state.
What is
55?
it?
I think it's 55 right now,
55?
cents a mile.
And again, ask me any questions.
The next one would be that only the athletic teams travel, so that would be no travel, no for cheer, band, dance, etc., when they go out of town.
Well,
When you
that,
say no travel, you mean? the-
Like to football games, Friday night football games.
So
No money.
who wouldn't get,
Band would not go, cheer would not go, dance would not go. Yeah.
oh, no, we can't do that.
Right, these are just suggestions.
Oh,
ma'am. These are just suggestions, like, yes,
We'd be
for
the
all
only ones showing up without cheerleaders.
suggestions.
can you give me the,
Okay, I'm sorry.
can you give me the savings on all that?
That's
Is that
all,
37,
yeah, these are the
3,700,
cost savings
37,000? I
Again,
think we need, when we go out of town, at least a band.
and
The
sir,
cheers, one of them wanna go, they can get in a car, and there aren't that many of them, sometimes they can go.
right, and just please keep in mind, I'm not advocating for any of these except for number 7. I'm just giving some suggestions, just suggestions.
We'll get $6 million for those two?
We
Yes.
could, that's what it's valued at.
That's what it's,
Wow. I know who'd buy this. Next door.
Okay, yes. So, the reduction
Let me
in,
speak my piece.
the reduction in the police force, and what I mean by that is that we only police during the day, okay? Our police force for the night would be cut, and we only police during the day. The municipalities would be policing at night, because that is
I like
what
that,
they're done.
I like that.
If you can get them to do it.
That,
We tried this quite a few years back, and they put down a definite no. That is your school, you take care of it.
But it's in the, it's in the.
I
city.
know it, it's in their area. No, they will not. And that was Kirby.
Don't we have alarm systems on all our schools?
When they drive by up on the
Okay.
street, that's what they'll do. Yeah, we went
Alright.
by it.
Well, isn't that what our guys do? Yeah,
And all-
drove by.
Yeah, all our schools, if you read back and all the way they were broke into was at night.
But what I'm saying is, Mr. LaFoille,
Mhm.
the number of burglaries, vandalisms don't warrant having a night crew. We haven't had that many.
Well, if you would do this then, set up the alarm systems to go to the police department in that district.
yes, we could.
See if they'll do that. But just don't leave it open for anybody to go in, the alarm goes off, if somebody hears it, great, they call, if they don't hear it, well, there they go. They got all night to play.
And we could also have a very, just also, if we didn't do away with it completely, we could have a very reduced night staff. Just to monitor, phone calls. That number 9 is all 226 employees go to 220. So that is mainly people like that were sitting across the table here from me,
Mm.
they are 226. Not everybody, but some people in this building, across the street, so they go to 220 instead. Another possibility is eliminate boot camp. Another possibility is graduation at Redwood Stadium.
I'll give a no on that for the reason of the weather,
Yes, sir?
'cause it gets hot out there. Can you imagine sitting there for that 3 hours?
I agree, I'm just giving suggestions.
Okay, I just want to tell you how I feel.
No, and I appreciate
She
that.
wants us to
Yes,
tell
I-
her
Yeah, okay.
how we feel.
Another possibility could be to eliminate JECA. Another possibility be to close small elementary campus. Another,
How small?
Less than 500?
We got a couple of them, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Another one could be that LOAT is offered through Edgenuity instead of through teachers, certified teachers. So that's another possibility. Another possibility is to reduce the board travel. Another possibility is
You
to.
reduce it to 2,000 from 3,000?
I think it's at 4,000.
We're at 4 right now.
4? I turned back over 2,000 this year. I do every year.
Another possibility would be to follow the 2-mile limit for transportation.
I thought we were doing that.
No, sir, what we have done is we have combined as many routes as possible, but there's some ones that are called hazardous that we do.
Oh, yeah, well, the hazardous, that'll be there forever. Okay.
Another one could be energy conservation throughout the district. Another one would be to remove the printers from the campuses and prints to copiers.
Well, you're probably gonna have to leave at least one printer at every campus. And you're gonna have to have control of it, but we have a beautiful print shop out here now that could do all this work that they're doing down here for maybe a penny on a dollar.
This is to remove, almost every teacher wants to have or has a printer in her classroom, in his or her classroom. So this would be to remove all of those.
Oh, yeah.
And then just have the big copy machine
Yeah.
in the workroom.
Yeah, no.
And you watch, they'll run that thing ragged.
I
I've seen them out there at Park Village, stand there and just push the button and push the button and getting hundreds of copies of the same thing.
All of these are very difficult. I am
Yeah.
having to make difficult decisions because, again, it's because
I
I
know
wanna
Susan and them
provide more
as
for
a
our
ex-teacher know they need their copiers, but they're abusing them. Just
Well,
like,
that is an instructional issue that the
Mhm.
principal should be focusing on. Why are they printing so much?
yeah,
And
I
there should
agree
be
with you.
limits on the amount of copies that teachers make.
Well, they all got their little cart and they go over there and pop it and then away they go.
But you can program the copier so that you get so many copies per month.
Yeah,
And so that's a principal thing, that's not something we should be dictating.
we gotta ask them to do it though.
No, that's a principal decision, that is micromanaging, that does not come from the board.
But the thing is, Suzanne, excuse me, they do it. I don't care what school you got around here. If you got back all the copiers, all the copies that each one of these schools print, and it's astronomical amount of money.
I understand, but it's an instructional issue and not a board issue. So should we convey through Dr. Ball that she would like the principals to look at that? Yes, but that can't come from us, that should come from the superintendent, that's what I said.
Oh, okay. I agree on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Number 19,
One for you.
reduce all instructional stipends by 10%. Another one could be remove stipends for inclusion and co-teach. Again, I wanna mention that these are just ideas. I do not want anybody to walk away or hear us thinking that these are set in stone. These are just ideas. I would like from the board to give me some direction as there's any ideas that you'd like, that you would, no one likes these. No
Right,
one likes
right,
these, let
right.
me just clarify. But because we do have a hardship right now, and because we do wanna provide so much for our teachers in compensation, is there any that the board would feel comfortable with me pursuing?
Okay.
Miss Betty, for the training that we are required, is $2,000, that's gonna be good to cover us for that?
It can be.
It can be?
Except for somebody who's new, that has to do more.
Exactly.
So we could,
But a lot of the new training, we can get at Region 20 for like 50 bucks a
Yeah.
session. So it's possible. They'll just have to pick and choose.
So we could do
what you
one
choose to go
conference
to. And just
and
make sure
then
you
the
have
summer
enough
SLI or
hours.
something, maybe it's not.
I mean, cause as far as that one, I mean, we already got reduced, what, last year?
1,000
Yeah.
from 5 to 4,
Yeah.
so that's what we.
I
got
don't
right now.
have a problem with that. Cause like, we got the summer training right here, that covers a big portion. And then if we can get, a few here and there at Region 20, right there off of I-35.
And I always like I like, our legal one, our governance in Galveston. I think that's.
Which is less expensive than.
I was just gonna say that.
Asking conference in Austin, which your rooms are costing there as well.
Yeah.
It was-
I had to go to
because, yeah.
the one in Dallas because the local one
Yes,
conflicts with the
yeah.
State Bar of Texas annual meeting. It's
So
the
she's
same
not going
dates.
to San Antonio, she's
I'm
going
San
to
Antonio's
Fort
a
Worth.
better one.
Yeah.
Dallas
So I have
one's
no
a little
choice.
boring.
I
But I
wish-
hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I wish they'd have left that one there in Corpus, it was a lot cheaper.
Well, I will say that I've used every dollar every year I've been on this board. And to reduce it to, I mean, it could be your call, I mean, this is the future board, but I can tell you that the professional development I received, because I was able to travel and see other board members from across the country, was just, you couldn't buy that. And so 4,000 isn't a lot to begin with, but there are conferences like the CUBE conference, the National School Board Association
Yes.
conference, that are invaluable and will give you resources that you can think out of the box, that you won't be able to get at Region 20, or, I mean, not to the same degree, you probably might be able to, but I would say that in the scheme of things, you know, $13,000 savings for sacrificing the professional development capacity that we have would be harmful. That would be my guess, because we can really get a good experience to go nationally, and I've enjoyed it. So some of us senior members, like Richard and I, we probably need less of it now, I'll give you that, but when you're just bored and when you're in your first term, that's important. And Mr. Shaw, you've been a part
I
of it.
went to the national, and I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I'm glad I went.
It's just not gonna be conceivable to do it on $2,000. 4,000, there's still a fighting chance to be able to do that conference and some localized ones for Texas. But again, looking at everything, if I could just say, my top two that I think are significant would be the reduction of the police force at night and the 226 to 220. If that doesn't impact anything in terms of,
Are you saying that I need more training because I'm senile?
no,
I hadn't heard that.
But those are the two, and those are significant. I mean, it's a sizable amount of money. Obviously, I'd like to hear from the police force what their thoughts are on that, but if there was one that I'm open with, I think that's probably the strongest direction. And I think I mentioned in a previous thought with you, Dr. Ball, as long as our facilities are armed and that there are ways to ensure that that they can't be vandalized or broken into, that will satisfy me that there is some sort of safety mechanism in place. I mean, as our taxpayers have said, we're already paying for police services in all these local municipalities, and so that's where we'll have to lean on those for support, at least at night. In terms of during the day, teacher safety, student safety, it needs to be there, and our police force is invaluable. But anyway, so I just want to let you know, that's one I can be supportive of in the reduction of days. If it doesn't impact anything, but 6 days sounds marginal. My only question to that would be if our salary for those 6 days would decrease, would these employees now look for work elsewhere? Would that 6 days be enough to say, well, let me go to Sherman's, let me go to Northeast, because those administrators, they're paying this much more. So that would be my only question regarding that.
The 226 is mostly senior staff, correct?
Mostly senior staff. Betty is 226. A lot of,
Some of our secretarial.
Yes.
For the.
Okay, so that's who that affects.
most everybody is that building or this building.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then there's a few, I think, in maintenance or
Yes,
some of
yes.
those.
Exactly.
Let me give some about the police department and eliminating them. I would go for eliminating them if we kept one and put him in a central location where all these alarms were fed to, so he would be responsible if one was broke into, to get the police, the city police, whatever city it is, over there to check it. That would work better. And then we eliminate, because I don't know how many they have on at night now. I think we have 4 sectors, don't we?
Yes.
And they got 1 in each sector, so we'd be eliminating 3 of them and keeping 1.
And I just want to interject that I think that our police department probably has, in some cities, we got more employees in our district police department than we have in some cities.
And we're bigger in some cities. We got more buildings.
Well, and the ones that are stationed at our schools, especially our secondary schools, do a really good job of connecting with
yeah.
those students, of being aware of what's going on at the schools, and they
I know.
stop a lot of
I
incidents that
know,
happen.
I know.
And, and when we're talking about,
But when you're talking about high school,
I know, but I'm also talking about public perception. When we talk about dangers at schools, school shootings, violence at schools, and all those, what are we doing to help assure our parents that their kids are safe at school? And so I would be concerned about losing our school resource officers, in terms of that perception and what they are able to do in terms of getting to know the kids and hopefully defusing
Wait,
issues
I
that
thought
are
we were
coming.
talking about the night shift.
Only night though,
I
right?
understand,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
they were talking about we employ more, and there are some reasons why we do employ those
Yeah.
people.
Oh, okay, no,
Yeah.
okay.
Good.
Well,
I
I
missed,
get-
I missed that part.
For the public.
We went from talking about night
Night,
to,
yeah,
to,
I got it.
yeah. No, I missed that part, I'm sorry, Ms. Moore.
And maybe I didn't think of all of the ideas. If there's some ideas that anybody else has, Mr. Porter, that you have?
No, no,
Oh.
I'm
Okay.
I'm
if
beaming
there's-
in.
If there's something that I missed, I hope that this proves I'm willing to look at everything.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know the answer's probably no, not yet, but like a cost analysis of what it would cost us to, if we move this, all of this into a smaller campus, you know, to have to go in and reconfigure it and do all the changes that would be needed, because we got the culinary section there, we got our computer,
Of
area.
HR.
Well, yeah, you know, to move all of this into,
So what we have talked about is, I am not gonna be asking to renovate a building, the campus. We're gonna go into it as it is.
But you would have to retrofit some
some of
things.
it, yeah.
A few things, mainly for technology.
Technology.
Mainly for
Yeah.
technology.
So there is a cost involved.
Yes, yes, but I didn't even bother to ask staff to put a pencil to paper on it, because I thought, y'all might think I'm the craziest person that ever lived with this idea, you know? So I just first wanted to put it out there, and I thought,
Mhm.
if they say, hey, yeah, Dr. Ball, we'll consider it, then we'll do some more
And
homework on
is
it.
this a good evaluation, this price here?
It's the most recent tax evaluation.
Ah,
Wow. That's a chunk of change.
yes,
It
it
is, but
is.
it's a one-time thing. You can't sell it every year.
Right.
And so when we're looking at reducing costs every year, I mean, that's helpful to work on our deficit for 1 year. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't be looking at some of the other ones too, which would provide ongoing cuts.
Like what, Ms. Kamara, just
Oh, I don't
curious.
know. None of them are wonderful, because, you know, nobody ever wants to have to cut. So our job is to direct our
Prioritize.
superintendent
Mhm.
to prioritize the ones that affect the fewest people, and also to make sure that we're not affecting what happens with our students, because our
Right.
priority is our students.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
I'm not in agreement with number 12 at all. I will not negotiate number 12.
Mm.
I'm not willing to.
That's a good one.
I am not willing to negotiate number 12.
I would say I was remiss, there was one other one that I liked as well that I thought was strong, which, we did 226, we did the police force, and it was a good one. Oh, closed small elementary campus. I
Oh, yeah,
mentioned
you
that
were talking
earlier.
about that earlier.
About just how viable it is based on our enrollment, if there's a need. Not close one and move the district in there, but just what does that, what part, does that make sense? And again, we don't wanna close any if we don't have to, but if really we don't have the resources to maintain it, we have to consider that for the sake of the entire district. And if you're projecting that to be 750,000, that's a sizable amount of money.
Mhm.
So we need to look at that. So that's another one that I think has some good possibilities.
So I want to play the devil's advocate here. Where would board meetings be held
In the cafeteria
of that campus?
Well, that would be better too, because we'd be on a campus this time and not in what they call the Taj Mahal. Oh, I've heard that statement
Somebody
a couple of
calls
times.
this building the Taj Mahal.
We'll call them on.
They
Compared
obviously
to what
haven't
we
seen
had
the
before,
Taj.
it's better than the
She
Taj
said
Mahal.
some people call it the big
White
house,
House.
the White House. I hadn't heard.
Okay,
we called it the big house when I was teaching.
really?
Yeah, the people that were in the big house said,
Yeah.
where are you going for your meeting? Over to the big house.
Well, if you
That's
remember,
cute.
well, you would remember, when I first got on the board, we, during the year, went to different campuses and had our meetings at the campus itself. It was a little work, we were setting it up and stuff like that, but we had a better turnout. people would come in, if they had a bitch, they would come in and got on that microphone and give it to us.
They do pretty good here.
Not like they did over there.
Our taping requirements make it a little difficult.
Yeah,
to
that
do
would make it
that,
difficult, but it could be done.
But it could be done.
They wouldn't be a live stream, it'd be a delay.
I don't know, maybe they could retrofit.
Yeah, they might be able to.
Look, if I can do live stream from this little thing, it can be done.
Are
Yeah.
there others that maybe I didn't list that you would like for me to put some numbers to, and anything that you would like for me to look at?
Well, I think we have,
Data on the boot camp, I mean, what is
Oh,
the?
yeah, I wanted
I can bring some data. Tell me, are you looking at data in regards to how effective it is?
Yeah, the
Okay.
effectiveness.
Okay.
That's a good question, I was,
Yeah.
because we're talking of the boot camp, just for my clarification, we're talking about, J-care,
It's located,
at J-care.
It's a different program, and it's not alternative, it's for students
No,
who
it's really
did
Yes.
serious, yeah.
Yes.
I had some students that were in boot camp.
I did too.
Okay.
I went over one day and seen two students from my school over
Went
there.
from boot camp to Bear County detention.
Unfortunate.
Yes.
anything else?
I think you have a good list here. I don't know if I could.
How
can't
does
think
any,
of it.
I mean, I know it's just a little savings, but does anybody care if I implement number 5?
Mhm. Have you discussed that with them?
Yes,
What they think?
they don't like it.
I was just gonna say they're unhappy.
It's probably the same idea that I have with the
What
professional
the,
development. I mean, and we wanna make sure they have top-notch training and opportunity for that. But it's a small amount, it's only 4,500.
District training.
That's their mileage for traveling from campus to campus to campus, Mr. Macias, that's not a training.
Okay,
Well,
okay,
let me
thank you,
ask you a
thank you for that.
question then.
That's the mileage okay, thank you, Ms. Conrad.
I think you need to take a good look at number 11 though, because weather comes in on that and,
I already put that as a no.
oh, okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a vehicle available there at the headquarters that if somebody needs to go out to one of the campuses, they can use one of our vehicles instead of driving their own personal car?
I don't think we have an extra one, but I'm gonna double check on that.
When you say extra, what do we currently have?
Right now, no central office person has a vehicle, they go out in their own.
Okay.
So
They get
we will-
mileage.
So that's what I'm getting ready to ask you. Can we share or at least get a vehicle from some other area that can be used by the central office?
Right, and I think all the ones we have, I think that they're all being used,
Mhm.
whether it's by maintenance, by transportation, but I'll look and see.
Okay.
So if we have one that could maybe be parked here, that they could use when they're gonna go out and about.
So this 4,500, is this per month or per
No, ma'am,
year,
it's a total.
for the year? Oh, so that's not even enough to go
Yeah,
buy
that's
a
not very
vehicle.
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
cause I know, I see Miss Betty, she uses her own vehicle when she goes to get the stuff that we need for
And
board
everybody
meetings and
uses
stuff.
their own.
Right,
Yeah.
so I fully understand, you know, I mean, that's her vehicle, her personal
I
vehicle.
think we can.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they don't have anything available to them.
Right, I'm just.
We used to have, a long time ago. Yes, we,
Central office staff always use their own cars to go.
well, they come up there and got the one out there when I first got on
When they
there.
left the district, I think,
Yeah,
but this is for in-district.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's for like, when Dr. Cantu goes to one of the schools to meet with the K people about whatever program.
On energy conservation, what does that mean? I mean, what would be entailed, changing out bulbs, what is
It
it?
really needs a lot to do with the air conditioning,
Okay.
with the air
And
conditioning.
where
works
you
well.
You would
set
set temperatures, that's what,
And times
and time.
So some of the
Yeah.
things that we have strategized, well, not strategized, but talked about would be like 30 minutes after school lets out, after
I got a
30 minutes,
question. This
the
one
air
again.
is turned off.
That'll get teachers to leave. At the end of the day.
You know, saying, okay, it's always gonna be set at 76, so wear light cool clothes or something, you know, and in the summer, excuse me, in the winter, it's gonna be set at, you know, a certain degree.
but I think that's the kind of thing
Don't
that's
they-
sustainable.
Yes.
but-
Yes.
Now, is the air turned off in this building on the weekend?
It
Yes.
should be,
Normally?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, it was hot when I came in
Oh, okay. No, I was just curious.
Yes. Does
It
that
works very well.
Does that include looking at, maintenance in the summers? Because I know last year we had a long discussion about
Custodians.
our custodians.
Yes.
And making sure that they were cool in the area they were working in, and temperature raised in the areas they weren't. And then I found out that we didn't do that.
Oh, it didn't happen?
No,
It did at Park Village, because I went up there and checked on it.
I'm just saying, I was told that it did not happen.
Oh,
It was not cool or it was cool everywhere?
they kept it the same.
Yeah, they didn't,
There
they
was no-
did not institute, because there was so much outcry
Oh.
from a board member about killing our custodians and.
Well, that's right. Would
And
you
so
like to
nothing
work in
happened. But
110 degrees?
No, I completely agree.
Yes.
We should be cooling the area in which they're working, but they're not working in the entire school
Well,
all the time.
I thought they did that.
They did not do it. I was
Well,
told.
there's a
So,
gentleman-
I would like for us to make sure that we
Yeah.
look at.
There's a gentleman
Dr.
that sits
Fields
there, he
knows.
can do that.
Dr. Fields knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And it can be isolated by.
Yes.
Yeah.
area.
Yeah,
And
whatever.
So if
what
they're
we
working
would-
in this hallway,
Yeah.
then that hallway is cooled so that they're comfortable while they're working, but the other areas of the school in which they're not working, the temperature's up.
And the other thing that Dr. Fields told us is that if anyone felt like they were getting too warm, there was a room that they could go to that would be cool.
A cool room.
A cool room that they could go to and
To
cool
recover.
themselves off and take a reprieve and then go back to work. And I thought that that was a pretty good, you know, solution.
I don't think either one of them happened.
But that's what she's saying.
That's what I'm saying, it didn't happen after, we never all that
And I didn't
discussion.
know
mean,
that.
I'll agree with you on that one.
I asked how it worked, and we were talking about, and he's like, we didn't do it.
Right, and the other thing that we talked about is making sure that if there are students in there
Yes.
and they're using a certain part of the building,
Yeah.
that we
Absolutely.
Make sure that they
areas
have
there
the air.
definitely.
for the
Always.
students.
Sure.
Because we have several summer programs,
Yes.
summer
Right.
school, we
Summer
know.
school going
Well,
on.
these are the campuses that are closed for maintenance, and when the custodians are doing.
That's a question I had. I don't see it on here. Are we gonna do breakfast and lunch this year?
Yes,
We are.
in the summer,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I never seen anything out on it or anything else.
We just came out last night.
Huh?
We
I
put
sent it out
that in
yesterday
the-
afternoon.
Yeah, well, nobody announced it to the kids.
I think flyers went home.
Did they? Then
They've
you
been
know where
talking
they go
about it
to.
on TV all week, well, for the past 2 weeks. They've been talking about it.
Maybe I missed this one about closing the two campuses.
Well, I think we put it under small schools, is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yep, number 13.
13, okay. Yeah, I got a big thing by it. What would we do with those buildings if we did? And do we have room in other schools to feed these kids into?
Some of the schools do have room.
Okay,
Some of the.
But we're looking at one, probably.
Right, I would,
just
Closing
one.
one, yeah, because I'm not sure we could absorb two.
right.
I would say that the reduction in police force, the reduction of days, 226 to 220, close the elementary campus, the energy conservation, and then the remove printers from campuses. If you add those alone, it's 2.3 million in potential savings, which is a sizable amount.
It is.
And I think a really good place to start.
Are we always getting checks from CPS because we conserved energy?
Maybe
Yes.
if she said, Dr. Paul's saying we can do another 200,000. So
I
God
could
bless
see
us.
that.
We're gonna do it.
Okay, so just to make sure I got all the numbers right, 8,
Which is,
9, 17, and 18, did I miss any? Oh, 8, 13.
Hold on.
yeah, those are just what I suggest. When I look at those
9,
groups that I'm comfortable with, that's
17.
2.3 million.
And what's the other one?
Does anybody
18?
have?
I'd like us to consider three, the incentive for retirement.
Yes, I agree. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Well, I need a little more on that one.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, Dr. Paul.
Sure. So there are some people that could retire, and they choose not to retire for whatever personal reason. But if we offered a $10,000, retirement incentive, they might retire. And
Not for
if so-
$10,000.
Yeah, they would.
If you
I
already
would.
if you-
$10,000? You couldn't get me to do nothing for
If you already
$10,000.
had, there
If
comes
you
a
have
point,
your full retirement.
right, it's like,
Yeah.
it's with the,
You
with
know what, the
TRS,
formula worked out.
you could, there's a point that you have your full retirement, that you're basically coming to work
And
would take
Those
that.
old judges.
And we have that many people that would qualify this number, 1.2 million?
Yeah, I don't think that many would take it, you know.
Because
I
we
agree
did,
with
didn't we
you
do
there.
that once upon a time, Renee? Didn't we do that in a few years?
Yeah.
Yes, there was an
Yeah,
incentive for
there was.
retirement,
We
yes,
did
there
it
was.
once. I guess,
And, it wasn't 10,000,
Yeah,
but
we
there
could
was
s-
an incentive.
I could bring back a list of, you know,
Okay.
some information for the.
Maybe some numbers.
yeah, yeah,
Get
I guess so.
things for
I
them.
mean, if I'm getting paid $60,000-$70,000 a year, whether it increases my retirement or not, $10,000 is not gonna entice me
You're not a
to
teacher
give that. You know,
with 30 years
I'm-
under the belt.
I see.
I can't believe we have that many with 30
Yeah,
years
but the
under the belt.
retirement's not gonna change.
No.
No.
That's the,
And you save money when you're not
Yeah, you
working,
save.
right?
And remember, we're not saying that we're doing any of these,
Right.
these are more that you want me to
Refine.
bring back more information and continue to explore, these are now,
and the boot camp was in
now
that.
$25,000,
yes, ma'am.
we might be able to talk about.
Is there any more, because
I can at
again,
least
I-
pay off a
Look at
bill.
number 7. I think that's something that we should discuss further.
Well,
The complex?
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm not feeling warm
as
and
long as they
fuzzy
got a
about that.
backup program,
that's
but
okay.
what we're gonna do.
And the reason why I have concerns with it is because of the logistics, but then also the professional development that's done here, the
That could be
central
done at
headquarters.
campus.
But they could do it at campuses.
I know, worst case, but that just seems to be taking a step backwards from the systems that we already have here. So it would be the last thing I'd like to look at, but, I mean, I'm just saying.
I'd like more information. I'm not saying
Yeah.
don't, I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying
Just-
that should be something that we should pursue and get more information on.
and I could be completely wrong, and I'm sure there's
And ask
people,
our teachers about it.
right, I'm sure there's people out there watching us. I would hope that the teachers would see it, wow, central office is willing to give up and not close the school and give us another opportunity or
Mhm.
something. So I'm hoping that that's how they would see it, because that's what I'm trying to instill
I
is,
see.
I think a community school is so much more valuable than the bricks and mortar of this building, that I want them to see this is how much we support them. I think always closing a school, it hurts a community, it makes people sad,
Mhm.
you know. Even when I talk to people in regard to their moving to a different school and things like that, they're sad because they invested so much time and effort into being in that school.
What are we talking about? I'm sorry, I didn't get
The
it.
selling of this place,
It's a building.
it's a building,
And
that's
that's
why.
what she's saying, yeah.
Better do that back than to close 2 schools.
Well, the schools, I can tell, and I know what 2 schools they're talking about.
But the people in those schools,
Yeah,
if we sell this building, then that's maybe a campus we don't have to affect.
Well,
The people are the most important part of this organization. Judson ISD.
well,
has
if you
some
did that, you
amazing-
went by all people stuff, you'd pick 90% of this off. We'd keep 90%. I know there's a lot of thought for the 2 schools that I think we're considering, and I know Live Oak will be screaming
The other
if they
thing
get
that
that one down there off.
I would also
But she
like us-
hasn't named any schools.
I would also like us to look at reducing our board travel, not necessarily the 2,000, but maybe taking another cut, because again, as leaders, we should be modeling that we are willing to,
What'd we get last year?
we have 4,000, so we could go to 3,500,
3.
not down to 2,000 necessarily.
You're not going as much as you used to, Richard.
Well,
So for those of us that are still.
it's health problems with me.
I
I can't go
understand.
there anymore.
So you're,
But leading by example, I think, you know,
I would agree
we're
with
willing to
that.
tell our teachers,
yes,
you know,
I would agree with that too, but I'm not 2,000.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd be willing to
1,000.
negotiate between,
And again, remember, there's at least
Right.
one new kid on the block.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Additional.
that needs
Well,
to have the.
you
yes,
need it.
And you'll be
Absolutely.
covered.
You would get different
So,
budget than
yeah.
we would.
and so we could say for new board members that they would have
Oh.
the 4,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
We gotta look out that.
okay.
Yeah, 'cause she's gotta
Oh,
get all her
yeah.
She
stuff.
needs that extra training.
We're gonna give her your
Absolutely.
money.
Huh?
We're gonna give
Your
her
your money.
Go ahead.
or whatever anybody has.
You know I
left,
love
you
you,
know.
I'm just.
Yeah, give her, I would say, I told people, if you run out of money,
Yeah,
let me
he
know, 'cause
has,
I never
he has.
spend it all.
He's volunteered to give his money away.
If
He's
we go
volunteered
back
to
to
give it to me.
4,000, I'll end up with
I just
2,000
didn't
over.
need it there. That's right.
Well, it just goes back into the pot
In
at
fact,
the
I-
end of the,
Yes,
Betty?
it does.
Into the budget.
Betty, how much did I get back this year?
Yeah.
How much didn't I spend this year? About 23?
And what do I have left, $1 or something like that? Yeah, I have like nothing left.
Yeah.
I spend every
I
dollar.
look at my reports that you send to us.
Every time I receive
Yes, I
one, I
do.
look.
I got a nice piece of change left
Uh-huh.
over.
Yeah.
3,500 is fine. And I went to,
You can go to the national.
No, she didn't.
no, I didn't go to.
You should
I
go
went
to one national.
SLI, I went to Tessa Tasby, and I went to Winter
Went to
SLI. So there's plenty of them.
Yes, it is.
You should go to one national. I say
Where
that
is-
as a
where is
thing because
national held
you
at?
see different people.
Where's national? It changes every year.
I think Boston was last year maybe or something.
Oh, okay.
Last year was DC, cause
Oh,
I
DC,
went.
okay.
Where's the national next year?
Oh, that's right, national was San Antonio last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Year before that, it was DC and I went.
So if you, in the middle of the night, can't sleep like I do, and you get a brainstorm of an idea, then let me know and we'll put it on the paper and bring some more thoughts. But my direction is for those items on the 12th, we'll provide you some more information, more numbers, more data, and kind of go from there. So what'll happen from now until we meet again, it probably is, a lot of people will be advocating for you not to do this. Just remember, none of us like doing this. It's just the reality of it. Again, it's to try to do more for our staff.
Well, and it's part of the message we're gonna be able to send out to the public as we move forward with the request for a tier.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at what we've done.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's not that we're sitting here doing nothing.
Right.
This is where we've had to get to try to get to a budget that is manageable for the district.
And sustainable.
Are we gonna have
One
a
of the
meeting with?
things that, I know has been requested several times is, a check on stipends as far as people getting paid stipend and they're not doing that job. You know, have we done that yet? Have we checked on to make sure that everybody that's getting paid a stipend is it legitimately doing what, well, it's kinda late now, school's out, but that they're actually doing that job? Because remember, we ran into a situation where, you know, we had a couple people getting stipend and they were not doing what they were supposed to be, you know, getting it for.
I'm gonna double check on that because I did not ask my staff specifically if they double check.
Okay.
So let me check on that.
Thank
and
you,
then,
ma'am.
And I do realize that we're late on time, so I won't bring this part up, but I still want a better understanding of our title funding, so that we can see that we are being strategic and efficient with what we're spending our money on.
Susan.
And so we need to look at that a little closer, especially, again, since we've had the update from the ledge that we can use some of that money to fund our pre-K program, which we had allocated some of our title money to. So I'd like a closer examination on that, but
yes, I
like
can
I said,
definitely bring back by the 12th, I'll be able to do that. Other items?
Yeah, are we gonna have another meeting with the district staff in closed session?
Right now?
There's a lot of things I have concerns about. And one is the safety of the schools. We are not getting those, what do they call them?
Vestibule?
Done at the schools.
Right, so those contracts have just been signed.
Okay.
So we are starting on Friday, I apologize, I don't remember, on Friday notes, I did put in there some updates on some of the projects, and one of them was specifically, Park Village.
Well, I will not, that's the one, I'm worried about more Mary Hartman.
Yeah,
When you
Hartman,
walk in the
Hartman.
door, the office is way over there and they
Yeah,
can go
and the
down there and
library's
never
right
see
in
me.
front of you, and it's usually always full of kids.
Okay,
You
I'll
know.
get a better update on our projects.
Yeah, okay.
But you know what, and then come to think of it, I need to, maybe you can tell me, remember at Hartman, okay, like when you walk in,
Yeah,
okay, the library's in front, the office is to the left, and
Yeah.
then you go over on that side, it's
Yeah.
the bigger kids. But the bigger kids have to come across there to go over to the nutritional care facility, cause it's on the other side of the office.
yeah.
Is there another way around?
Oh, yeah,
Is
it
there a
goes all the
back
way around. They come back
On
around.
the other side of the library, there's another corridor.
Okay, that's what I've never went on the other side. Okay, and, yeah.
So it's wide open to anybody wanna go in anywhere they wanna go.
Yeah, yeah.
And we just had another big shooting again in the United States. What was it, 19 people killed? And it was a was it a board meeting for this, something like that? Yeah.
Adjacent to it, but yeah, the municipal facility.
Yes, but, yeah, just, the security for the staff, for the students, and I noticed that they didn't get into no big heavy, thank God, conversations again about wanting teachers to have guns, I'm glad they didn't stir that pot back up.
We have another piece of property within Minute Park Village done that's gonna be available to get sold too. And that's that extra building over there, which is the real old building from the original school. And the gymnasium, which was from the school. The thing I'd like to see done with it, but it'll never happen, is that senior center out there. But I don't think the city would buy it. Yeah, if we want to partner with the city, but I don't, my area's a lost area. No, as far as the city goes, that whole area out there.
But Commissioner Calvert, that's part of his district.
I know it is.
And he is very proactive when it comes to taking care of his area.
You know, I've never seen him out in our area, and I go to the district, I'm not district meeting, I go to the neighborhood association meetings. I
He won't
belong to
go
it.
unless he's invited. But that's all.
I'm gonna ask her to,
They're invited, yeah.
well, I'll call him up and
Okay.
invite him.
Are we ready for closed session, Ms. Eaton?
I need to recycle.
Oh, okay.
Can I
Yeah,
touch,
well, why
can I
don't we-
touch the microphone now?
You can still call it.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call it. We're gonna go into closed session at 12:21.
Do we have a sheet of that for that?